7 minutes after 10. We'll go ahead and get started. There's some people here in the headquarters, obviously, and some people online, and we'll keep letting anybody and everybody online that would like to come. But today is really just about an open forum Q&A. I'll try to give you an update on kind of where we are and what we have heard. Where this all started was on February 4th. The State Executive Committee, apparently their Rules Committee on the 2nd of February actually came out and I guess they had a meeting. They presented a letter to the state party executive committee on Saturday morning, the 4th. There was no notice of this. No one knew about it, that type of stuff. And they said, oh, there's some emergency and we've got to take over the reorganization and convention for Greenville. So that obviously passed with, obviously scare tactics and letting people know that obviously there's crazy things going up here. The stories have started from anywhere from we apparently have either sold our email list to the Joe Cunningham campaign, or we bought our email list from the Joe Cunningham campaign. It's a little bit hard to get confused. We've either had a data breach. We've either had the state executive committee person, Jane Page from Aiken, Jane Page Thompson from Aiken, told the Aiken GOP the Thursday afterwards that the reason they took it over is because I was telling people that she drinks the blood of children. So, I mean, it's all across the board. I've heard about anything and everything that you can imagine. But I will tell you, last night we did get Drew McKissick sent an email to the state executive committee folks saying that it had nothing to do with all of those other issues. And I'll read you exactly what he did say. He said, rather, it revolves solely around the fact that the Greenville GOP has refused to comply with the state committee's previous votes, overruling many of its past actions over the past year and a half. So I'm not sure what that is. I don't know what we do or have not done that the state executive committee or rules committee has told us to do, because they don't talk to us. So you'd have to first talk to us to tell us to do something. So I think what is happening is Drew is getting more and more boxed into a corner, and we're, obviously we're saying this, out loud in public. So, oh, this is, somebody in the chat says, Jeff, according to my county chairman, you have sued South Carolina GOP 150 times. So yes, I did hear that. That was one of the comments that that was also stated at the Aiken meeting, that because I've sued the state party, that I've cost them $80,000 in legal fees. So, I mean, the stories are all over the board. So, I'm sorry. Yes, Olga's correct. I've never sued the SCGP. I filed, I think, 7 lawsuits. I've sued a total, there's a main cabal of people that are 8 to 10 people that I've sued that are Republicans. And I have sued, I think, a total of about 25. The additional ones over that 8 to 10 were because I was ordered to by a judge to name all the potential John Does. But that's a fun story to tell, and I'm more than happy to go over that. But but I've never sued the SCGOP or any state party or anything of that nature. I've sued people that have either defamed me, said that I was disbarred, said that I was criminal, said all kinds of things like that. As many of you know, I mean, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, right before the school choice debate, I think a leader for the Moms for Liberty that's really close to Ellen Weaver, and they're pushing the education savings account. She told a group of people, including a couple house reps, that I had been arrested and I was currently in jail. So that is defamation. And you would think if someone said that about you, you'd be a little tired of it and you probably sue somebody. So that's the only reason I've ever sued anybody. So that's what's going on. But what has happened is, we have actually gone and identified the law, and we've seen that under the law, there's State Code 7-9-70 that specifically says the county committee is supposed to pick the date, time, and location of the convention. And the convention obviously includes the precinct reorg. You can't have a convention and elect new leadership without the precinct sending delegates. So that encompasses the whole thing. And if you look at 7-9-10, and we put all these things out there and emailed them out, but if you want to read or see the code, you can go to that mySCGOP.news. We kind of, we send out emails through mySCGOP, the educational stuff, but we also put it online so you can go back and reference it and make it a lot easier. So we get a lot of questions, so we're trying to refer people there. So so that's there, but at 7-9-10 actually says if you violate 7-9-70, that the state election commission must decertify the party that violates that. So I think they've kind of backed themselves in the corner there. I will tell you, we have three options. Essentially, they make the rules, they interpret the rules, and that's what we have to deal with. And our key is, after our reorg and our convention, we want the state party to recognize our leadership, and we want the state party to recognize our delegates, because we send 90 delegates down to Columbia to the state convention. And so we really have three options, and we've talked about it through the executive board, and everyone's certainly in agreement with this. We can either just do our own reorg and say, you know what, we're the little upset and the law is on our side, and forget you, we're going to do what we want to do. I mean, that's a mistake, and I would never recommend just doing that. So you could then take the option of, well, we could do our reorg, follow the law, and then do their reorg too. So then I got to ask all 50 of my people in my precinct to sit there and go to two things. I don't want to do that. So I think the third option is just do theirs. If they're going to be this way, we're going to follow what they do. I mean, that's why that's the amazing thing for them to say that they're doing this, because we have not followed what they've told us to do, is kind of ridiculous, because, I'm a lawyer, we're going to follow the rules and we're going to follow what they do. So what we will do, and we're taking things day by day as we get new evidence and new information. But if the state party says we have to follow what they want, and if they don't, hate to say, capitulate to what I think is the right thing to do and what we will push for, and we will continue to fight. We're not going to just roll over, I can assure you that. But we're also not going to shoot ourselves in the foot. But we'll follow their platform or their process. We will do it under protest. And then at some point in time, either before the convention or before the reorgs or after, there will be a lawsuit or a complaint for a declaratory complaint for declaratory judgment, which is where you go and ask a court to interpret the law. And when the court would then interpret the law and then insist or order whomever, in this case, the state election commission, to follow the law. So that would be to decertify the party. Nobody wants that, but I think there's going to be, and whether Jeff Davis does it or somebody else does it, Jeff Davis is probably not going to do it, but anybody, any taxpayer, any Republican by any means would have the right to do that. They would have standing to do that. So that's going to be a quite interesting situation. I don't know if Drew McKissick wants to risk, decertifying the Republican Party, the state of South Carolina, for what he's trying to, his goals and what he's trying to accomplish. But that's kind of the process and the thought process that we are at right now. So we don't know day to day what the information is. The state party is refusing, obviously, to return any calls or emails to me, and they refuse to return any calls or emails from our executive board. So, so we just got to take it from what we can hear, and we've heard different stories about different days. They are apparently calling. There's a girl by the name of Tabitha Bone. She is calling some people that are presidents or ECs, or I guess just presidents. They have the old list, so there's there's the parties don't. I mean, we don't sit there and update the state party with a centralized database that lets them know who are the precinct ECs and chairs and leadership and all that. But that is something we would want to do in the future, and we're trying to grow the party. Y'all know my theory is they want to keep it small to control it all. So we're trying to grow the party, make it bigger. I don't know how you grow a party or keep it small and actually be effective in that, but I mean, they're just trying to keep the party small. And I want it as big as possible. We want as many people as possible. I'm so super excited about what's going on. I mean, we actually have broken Greenville down into 12 different zones, and we do work around the state too, because what goes on in Pickett, Sumter County, what goes on in Calhoun County affects Greenville County and vice versa. So that's why we're trying to coordinate and work with leaders across the state, whether they're in the Republican Party, in their local GOPs, or just conservatives across the state, to try to make this better. But I think we're having a huge impact. I think this fight that you're seeing on the House with the Freedom Caucus is a lot of stuff that we stirred up in the beginning, and we're exposing it. And that's what we're doing. So this is a fight. I mean, this is just what they do. I hope everyone has seen the article out of what happened in El Paso County, Colorado. This county is where Colorado Springs is located. It's about 725,000 people live there. And if you read that article, and it's on the mySCGOP.news as well, they did the exact same thing. They set up a shadow group. They took over the reorg. You know, they did all kinds of things. They accused them of everything I think they've accused us of. Maybe not drinking the blood of children, but about everything else. And that is kind of the humor. So I can't believe that one. But you know, that this is a national thing that's going on. I think if Devon talks about it, I think it's in 5 states that we've seen. I've been interviewed by national press on this. They've asked us for other states where it's going on. You know, obviously in South Carolina, the big counties have been what they've done in Horry County, what they've done in Oconee County, and what they've done here now at the last minute here in Greenville. But anytime anybody asks you to do something last minute, say it's an emergency, and you know, when they'd actually been here in Greenville looking for convention space or whatnot back in January. So we kind of heard, you know, rumblings of it. And you know, it wasn't an emergency if they all knew about it. So, oh, and let me just tell you, and it has gone out in the email, we have to get a special called meeting, we need 5 counties to sign off, or executive committee members from 5 of the counties to sign off on a special called meeting. And if we can get that called, we have, you know, I think you've seen the details on that. We're asking Drew McKissick to tell us what we did and let us respond, because they've given us no due process. And I don't think you're an American, or certainly not a conservative or Republican, if you don't believe in a basic constitutional right to due process. I will tell you that Bill Bledsoe, our friend from over in Spartanburg, Bill is a big guy on rules, and he reads the Robert's Rules of Order and does all that parliamentarian stuff. Shockingly enough, there is apparently some sort of, and I'll get it out there. I just talked to him about it this morning. He emailed about it yesterday. But there's some way you can actually put someone on trial for doing this type of stuff. He believes that Greenville and Spartanburg could literally put Drew McKissick on trial for within our body, that we could actually put him on trial to make him come up here and provide us with the reasons why he's doing this. And I don't know all, you know, it has to be a secret kind of everything, you know, you can't, you know, talk outside. It all has to be confidential, and we had to appoint an investigative committee and all that stuff. So if somebody wants to be part of that, you know, we can delegate that over to you. And so, you know, we do have a conflict resolutions committee that's been doing some really fantastic stuff, but this would be more of an investigative committee that would then, you know, bring this to a trial. So we are going to go through each of these different little steps. And but let me just tell you, when Bill Bledsoe sent that email out yesterday, guess who he got a call from last night? He got a call from Drew McKissick. So they are apparently worried about a few things, and I'm more than happy to pursue each and every opportunity we have. I think that's what our executive body wants me to do, and that is what we will do. Now, we're not going to just roll over, but we're also not going to do things that would be ridiculous and lose our ability to have our leadership and our certainly most importantly, our 90 delegates that we will send down to the state convention to, I would presume, unelect Drew McKissick or elect anybody but Drew McKissick. So, you know, kind of complete the work that we've been doing. So I'll open it up with that stuff being said, and y'all let me know what questions you might have. Yep, we got one question here from Bob Bugos, he's EC.
EC from Delmore. And you were just mentioning a trial, according to Bill Bledsoe, as a possibility. And my question is, would that trial be based upon statute, rules of the party, or Robert's Rules of Order? Because I don't think Robert's Rules of Order would provide for that.
Actually, Bob, it does involve Robert's Rules of Order. So, I mean, that's the citations I've gotten from him. Joe is holding up Robert's Rules right now. It does have something to do with Robert's Rules. I'll try to somehow get it out. I mean, I literally just got it this morning. I got it, an email yesterday, which obviously which obviously wasn't through mySCGOP, but it can you mute it? But it has something to do with Robert Streets. So, yes, sir. Bruce Inc. from Clear Creek, president, right? Yes. Oh.
We're on.
Bruce has a great question. What do you do about scheduling locations? So we were telling people to schedule locations because the party hasn't said anything. What the point is, we are following going forward with what we have to do until we learn new information. They were telling some of our people a day or two ago to not cancel because they were still working on it. Now we're hearing that they're telling presidents to cancel. So I don't really know what is going to happen, because in all reality, I mean, we could get a state executive committee meeting that reverses this, and then we're back to where we started. We could get, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I would not cancel it personally. We have in Timberlake, I'll tell you what we're doing. I mean, we've got our location reserved. We're not going to cancel it until we know for sure. If we can do the state executive committee meeting, it will be next Tuesday. That one may not happen, or it may happen and we may need to do a second one or a third one, state executive committee meeting. They have literally thrown a monkey wrench into everything that everybody's doing. Joe here has done a lot of work getting his thing ready. And, a lot of people have invested money in getting their things, because what have we told everyone to do? Make this fun, make this an event. I mean, this literally ought to be a fun event where we're going to bring people in. Our goal was to bring 50 people per precinct, 7,550. If we even get anywhere near that 10%, not 10%, but 50% of that, I mean, it's overwhelming. And that's
rolling up to this kind of thing.
Joe has spent, yes, Joe Lyle, and
I paid for a rhino van, I paid for food and everything else.
Joe Lyle is in the Sandy Flat precinct. It is our largest precinct this go around, with 27 delegates. The delegate numbers are down this go around because it's based on the number of people that came out to vote, and there weren't a lot of people that came out and voted in the June governor's race last year. Joe has spent, as he just told you, $1,000 of cash already. And, he's hired security for his event. He's got a van, a rhino van, because I think he's got a big sign, anti-rhino or whatnot. But he spent a lot of time and energy. And this is the example. We've got a gentleman here that has just started working with us over the past year, wants to get involved, wants to make a better Republican Party, wants to grow his precinct, wants to do a lot of exciting things. He's been meeting with, sending out letters. I think he sent 2 sets of letters, 600 apiece. I mean, it's just, we're investing time and energy to grow the party. And then the monkey wrench comes from Drew McKissick because he wants to, maintain his position. But there is a lot of money involved in Drew's job, I guess. He directs a lot of, where, to me, the Republican Party, the National Republican Party, is about raising money and then spending it with their friends. So that's, hey, Olga. There's a lot of, the National Republican Party raises a lot of money, and then they all spend it with their friends. And I can tell you that I think there's a lot of grift and graft that probably goes back, circles back to different people. You got to prove that type of stuff. But that's my feeling, and that's what I believe. And you're talking, as I talked to somebody today, you're talking millions of dollars. And when somebody can line their pocket with millions of dollars, they really don't care about what's going on. And this is what I think is, and I think a lot of us believe, is destroying our communities, destroying our state, and certainly destroying our country. And that's why we are 1000% transparent. Drew and his crew are not transparent, and we're really waking up a lot of people. I've had more people across the state call me and contact us in regards to the ridiculousness of this situation, and how it's obvious. I've had people from small counties, officers, elected officers in small counties with local GOPs that are telling me, why is the state party up there running the Greenville reorg when they're small counties and they need help running their reorgs? There's a lot of counties, and it was shocking to me. I've always, this is only the fourth reorg I've ever even known about. And I didn't know about, 6 years ago, whatnot. But I mean, there are counties that don't even do the precinct part. They just go straight to convention. And if you show up, that's when they're kind of doing the precinct reorg. Whoever just shows up at the county convention, they organize their precincts, kind of, I guess they couldn't have more delegates per precinct. But when you got a county when you got 15 people show up at your county convention, I guess everybody's a delegate from their particular precinct. Now they're getting very confused because they're like, hey, we got more people than we would normally have. What do we do? And all those counties, I think, are now, the ones that I've talked to that have never done the precinct part of the reorg until the convention, they're actually organizing and doing a precinct reorg early in the month of March. So it's actually fantastic, and it's helping them. They're saying, hey, we're growing our party, but we've never done a literal March precinct reorg, and they need help. And they're calling me, and I'm like, I'm helping them, and the state party's up here trying to take our stuff off. So it literally makes no sense. But Bob, do you have another question?
This is just a comment. I think a lot of us on this call, and also a lot of people that we interact with on precinct, are confused about what to do. Should we go forward with the reorg on the 14th? Should we wait and see what we're told to do when there's been no pronouncement about what we should do? And personally, I don't think we should do anything to disrupt what we are doing voluntarily at this point in time. There has been nothing that changed anything we have done. The executive committee has set its dates. We're ready to go. Everybody's ready to go. We shouldn't let the state put a monkey wrench into that unless we reach a conclusion that they've set a reasonable date that we can do. Because if they set a date on March 12th that we're going to do it on the 15th, that doesn't do us a lot of good. So it seems to me we should just full steam ahead as planned, no changes, unless and until the state does something that we feel we ought to get on board with. And I would suggest that because we act as a committee, you might want to authorize our leadership to make that change at a last minute if that seems the thing we need to do, so that we don't find ourselves in the position of holding a meeting and then wanting to hold a second meeting. It's all just too complicated and a potential disaster for all of us. So my point is, in summary, let's go ahead, full steam ahead, do what you plan to do, tell your people you're going to do what you plan to do, with the understanding that if county leadership asks you to change the date, we will.
Yeah, and Bob's right. That's exactly the same conclusion we had as an executive board, that we're just going to go full steam ahead with what we're doing. We are getting new information every day. I think late last week, they mentioned that Tabitha Bone, and we'll get all the phone numbers out there, because you need to call these people. You need to call Drew McKissick. You need to call Hope Walker. You need to call Mark Benoit. You need to call Tabitha Bone, and you need to, ask them and find out exactly what the heck, is going on, because, they're not talking to us. So you can be mad or upset, why they're not talking to you. I'm like, I can't control them. I've never talked to Drew McKissick. I've never shaken his hand. He won't shake my hand, and you got to ask, why that is. And I'm more than happy to openly talk about it, and Drew won't. But we are going to go forward until we know anything different. I will tell you, Tabitha Bone has apparently said they're going to announce dates toward the end of this month. So, I mean, the date could be, they could tell us on February 28th that the date is March 1st. There's nothing, who knows? I mean, we put out the communication the other day. Why would they not tell us when the state convention is going to be? We got people that would like to know, or they're going on vacation in May, and they don't know. The only thing that's in the rules is they have to, the law, they have to, produce it 10 days before. But why would they? I mean, you can't tell me they don't have a location found for the state convention, a date and time and location. So, but they won't tell you. All of this is to create confusion. And I will tell you, if you get frustrated and go get 10 more delegates, and go tell 10 more people. We are doing the palm cards, and we're putting little notifications on here, but we're also saying, date and time subject to change, call / text RSVP. I'm telling all the people in my precinct, just, hey, you got to be flexible, be ready, but don't walk away. That's how the party wins, if people walk away. And I think we have more people step. Yes, there'll be a few people say, you know what, forget these folks. The party's screwed and the country's screwed, and I'm just walking away. But there's a lot more people, I think. For every one of those, I think there's 9 others that are sitting there saying, you know what, this is why you need to be involved. So, Von Julian, you have your hand up. But if anybody has any questions online, there is a reaction button at the bottom. It's under reactions. Click that, and you can just raise your hand, and then we'll come to you. Yvonne?
Oh, hi. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just a couple of points. First of all, I think we should be prepared for dirty tricks, very similar to what Democrats do, because I have just been floored by this news that, the RNC took money from this Scott Besant, who is worked for George Soros twice, and George Soros loaned him $2 billion. I've been shocked by that. And the more I see of this playbook, it looks very much like what Democrats do. So be prepared. Walt and I talked this morning that they might shut down, they might set up a situation where people are in line and can't vote. I mean, be prepared for every negative thing that we've talked about Democrats doing coming from these people, because I'm just shocked. Communication Drew sent out this morning claiming that we've been notified of rule violations. I have not spoken to Drew McKissick since I've been in this job. And neither has, as far as I know, if anyone else on the board has, let me know. But for him to say that, I mean, the darkness that surrounds a lot of these people, it's shocking to us. So I think that's the thing, is just be prepared for things that you as a moral human being would not do. Be prepared for it. Those are my comments.
Yeah, don't get angry, get even. And go out and find 10 more delegates, help another person. And the other thing, guess what? If we don't know when our reorg is, and go help another county, go talk to some people in another county, go help them reorg, and that was always the kind of the strategy, that if they had ever, came into Greenville and shut us down, because Drew wanted to eliminate 10% of the delegates that would vote against him. Well, guess what? We'd go work in all 45 other counties. I could spend full time helping some of these smaller counties. Greenville has one vote on the executive committee. You can go get 10 counties and help them put this stuff together. So I mean, help other people, help just help in any way you can to fight back against this type of tyranny. And that I mean, it sounds kind of drastic or whatnot, but this is how America has gotten into this mess, and it is absolutely hilarious to watch. And you're watching it right in front of our eyes, how the country has been destroyed, and you're watching people help it and assist it. You cannot be consider yourself a patriot, you can't consider yourself a patriot if you're out there helping a cabal of people destroy the Republican Party in the state of South Carolina. So wake up a little bit. Susie, you had your hand raised. Susie, you're on mute. Turn it on.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute myself and my phone is not working that well. Anyway, I just have a question. There's some precincts that they won't tell where they're gonna meet. They're not telling you the place. And that's how they work, it's by, not providing the information. And so what do you do with those type of precincts? Because if you have people living in the area, they only are inviting people that they're like-minded. So what do you suggest? And what do you suggest to do with the unorganized precincts? Should you have them at the TDC with you and see who comes from that precinct and organize it?
Well, the precincts and organizing them is a different question, and what would be unorganized. But we need to do, like Bob said, we need to just focus on our mission. Our mission is to find more delegates, to grow the Republican Party, find like-minded conservatives, to get them involved in the Republican Party, go print out that article. I mean, and hand it to people and say, we need you to come out. Use that as your recruiting tool. to me, it's the
Mhm.
best recruiting tool out there is what the state party's doing. And, you know, there's some people that understand it and are frustrated and have actually, you know, done everything they can, you know, to, you know, this is the best PR news we can get. I mean, Terry and Olga and I did a walkthrough of the Greenville County Convention on Friday. And it, you know, one of the individuals that we talked to there said, you know, I said, you know, we're talking to them. Oh, what are y'all doing? I said, oh, we're going to look at having the convention here. And I said, have you ever heard of Republican Party precinct reorganization? They said, and this was a lifelong Republican. They said they'd never heard of it until their husband read an article about how the state party was taking over Greenville. So
I love it. I love it.
so I'm like, this is
Mm.
great. I mean,
Yeah.
you can sit there and I know we get frustrated, realize that we're kind of on the front line and we're doing this. And we as conservatives, we think everything is supposed to be done right. Guess what? That's not necessarily how the world is. There's some people that
Amen.
think about themselves, are more self-interested. They want their titles or they want to line their pockets, or they, quite frankly, the most disappointing thing I see is people like Drew McKissick and some others taking advantage of people that are confused or don't understand things and telling them lies. I mean, I had a party chairman call me last Sunday. We spoke for an hour for another county, and he told me that he had been told that not to call me, number one, and number two, that if he called me, I record all of my phone conversations to use it against them. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I'd want to call that person either. Somebody had said that. But I asked this gentleman, I said, have you ever heard me taking a recording from a phone call and putting it out there to dox somebody? I'm like, I haven't done that. He's like, yeah, you're right. You've never done that. And he's like, you know, and by the end of it, you know, we were very friendly and chatting, and he was very complimentary of what we do and the educational stuff we've sent out for mySCGOP. I was at America First conference in Charleston last weekend, and there was a gentleman there that was a communications chair for another county. And because on the way home on Saturday, he was informed, because he runs the website and the Facebook page. He was informed that because of the company he keeps, he no longer had administrative access to the website or the Facebook page because of the company he keeps. Now, go back and read I think it is in the Greenville News article. I think Hope Walker is quoted in there, and she is being quoted as saying why they had to take over the Greenville Republican Party reorg had something to do with they had concerns that we were going to run off, you know, I guess middle of the road Republicans. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was nothing about rules violations. I'm like, I think, and you know, it's not for me to determine if I was sitting in their spot. I think they run off more Republicans than they bring in by being middle of the road. I get people that are massively frustrated about what's going on in this county and the state and this country, the world, and they blame the party. They're running away from the party. And I've always said it's not R versus D. It's the establishment elite in both of those parties versus we the people. And, you know, we will be a party about we the people, and we've got to, you know, just vote out all the establishment and put, you know, as I always say, and you know, butts in seats. If your butt is not sitting in the seat of an executive committeeman and a president of your precinct or a delegate, then somebody else is, and you may not necessarily agree with what they're saying. So they know the rules. We are learning the rules. We are reading the rules. Do not trust when somebody tells you stuff. That is why we are sending out, literally, here is a screenshot of the rule. Read it. And here's a link to the entire Robert's rules or the entire SCGOP rules. Here's a screenshot of the election code in the South Carolina code. Go read it. I mean, you can't read 7-9-70 and 7-9-10 in the code and have any other conclusion other than, yeah, what the state party is doing is wrong and illegal. We got one hand. I think is that Debbie, Mrs. McCauley.
Hi, everybody. Hey, I have a question. I see Brenda Skip is on video here. Brenda, do you know anything about what's going on with South Carolina GOP as far as locations and dates?
You're on mute. You're on mute, Brenda.
I do not know anything more than what I'm hearing today. So, and at a meeting with Tabitha Bone, the nighttime ladies group, And I think you guys already know all that. So I really don't know anything either.
So, I'm sorry, did you say you had a meeting with Tabitha?
No. I said she was at a meeting of the ladies group, the Greenville ladies group. I think they're called the Live. I'm not sure. And she just said that an announcement will be made in a couple of weeks. And I think pretty much you guys already have all that information.
Okay,
Well,
all right.
I will just say the communication I got about that group meeting is that Ms. Skip presented at that meeting, and Ms. Skip told them that she ran the 2021 reorg, I guess here in Greenville. I'm not aware of that. And then you were reporting and you were working with the SCGOP because you were at the February 4th meeting with Nate and Tabitha, and you were in the meeting as opposed to me being in the meeting.
Jeff, I asked to go to the meeting and I went. I was not involved in it. I wanted to see from the horse's mouth what happened in that meeting, because I know in the past we have not been, because I've been at other meetings too. All you have to do is ask and they will let you go if there's room. And I went to see what was going on. And I heard, you're not telling these people that 44 counties voted to have this happen. It wasn't Drew McKissick. The way a meeting is run is the ECs are supposed to vote on things like this. They voted to do this to Greenville. And Jeff, you know the absolute reasons. You won't admit it to the folks on this call, but you know the reasons. Walt Horan is one example. You have never proven that Walt Horan is qualified to run for any office. You've never shown that proof to the people. And I challenge you right now. You always say you've got proof, but you never show it.
And what does Walt Horan have to, what is he third vice chair? Is he on the website? I mean, Brenda, what rules have we broken? Can you tell us what rules?
Jeff, I'm not going to get into this with you because it's your call. You're going to win because I know you're very good at this. But I can tell these people that there are rules that have been broken and you won't admit it to these people. As in one example that I'm aware of, the ECs are supposed to vote on everything. You have no way of making decisions without their input, without their voting. They did not vote on most of the things you've done. So
can you tell us one thing? What do you,
I'm not gonna, Jeff, I told you, I am not gonna get into that. You've had your opportunity. You sit there with that little smile on your face, but these people are not getting the straight story. So
well, then I'm giving you the
So
floor.
Brenda, you go ahead and make accusations, drop your bomb, and then leave without any sort of backup for the claims that you're making right now. We're putting on you on the spot. We're putting on us. We want you to go ahead. You made a claim about Jeff. Go ahead, give the evidence.
I'm not, it's his call. He's got to take care of it.
That is the Democratic playbook right there. Lenore, if you'd like to, Lenore Skelton, EC for Paris Mountain. Yes, ma'am. You have your hand up. Oh, you may be on mute. Nope, not on mute. I can't hear you. Sorry. Come. Yeah, and I can certainly tell you multiple. There's 46 counties. I know there's more than 2 that voted to not have this taken over. So,
what were the two? What were the 2, Jeff?
well, Greenville.
No, you said more than 2. What
Greenville, Anderson, Darlington, or I'm sorry, Dorchester. I can give you those 3 for sure.
Absolutely not. That is
Really?
absolutely wrong. 44 people voted to have this happen. And again, that's the way the Republican Party is supposed to run. It's a very democratic kind of, or democracy kind of organization, and they vote to make change. And they voted against Greenville. That's what these people on this call are not understanding. It was not Drew McKissick. It was not Hope. The people voted to have this happen because they knew that they needed to take care of it and make sure that it was an honest and upright reorg. Believe me, whatever they do is going to be supported by law. It's going to be supported by honest people doing the right thing. And I encourage each one of you to think about that. They are looking to grow the group. They are looking for us to be a viable organization in Greenville. Jeff, what have you accomplished the last 2 years? Tell me that. What have you accomplished with all these people working so hard? Give me some of your accomplishments. 2 years, you should have a whole bunch of them. And by the way, accomplishments are not, they're not activities. They're not having Friday morning meetings or all the learning, the teachings that you've got. It's actually getting legislators elected. It's actually having legislators come to your meetings. The entire 2 years, there's not been hardly one legislator to come to your meetings. And that's not right. That is absolutely not right. We exist to support the legislators. And we're not.
We exist to support, sorry to interrupt, but Brenda, having legislators come to I just can't believe I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I cannot believe what I'm hearing. This is a government of we the people.
But Yvonne, the Republican Party exists to support the legislators. And when we support them, they come to, excuse me?
The Republican Party exists to support legislators?
Absolutely. We support them and they support us by coming to our meetings, and we have their ear. And we can talk to them and we can make suggestions and try to get them to vote the way we want to vote.
If they have that in the Constitution, where does it say that in the Constitution you need to come to the biblical citizenship class. Where does it say that in any constitution that is what the role of the people is? It is the opposite, Brenda. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
Well said. Well said.
Ruth, this is our recruiting tool, folks. Ruth, you have a comment or question, please?
I'm just wondering that she can just drop bombs and then say, oh, well, I don't want to talk about it. And you know what you did. That's not how accusations work. Okay.
Ruth,
Thank
have you heard how many bombs Jeff has dropped this morning?
Yeah,
you guys,
I get unsolicited email from people. I don't even know who the heck they are. I don't even know how they got my email. I get weird emails from people who actually have called me drunks and personal attacks on me. Yet you are sitting, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about you right now.
I don't know what to say to you, Ruth.
I will tell you, everyone.
What else is new? That's you've been your thing for like 10 minutes now. You haven't been saying anything.
Anybody wants any backup of anything I say, please just ask, and I will be more than happy, excited to provide it to you. I have provided it to other people that have asked across the state, and they are shocked and dismayed to actually see something written down that Jeff Davis has not sued the state party, as somebody put in the chat, 150 times. So Keith Jones.
Jeff, have you showed us the roll call from the last Zoom meeting? Who were the 45 people who voted? Remember when you had a Zoom call and you've actually had a couple, and I followed you for several days trying to get the roll call. These people don't even know who voted for the stuff you're saying that they voted for. You won't, you say you are 100% transparent, and you will not give out those list of people. Now, I think the people have a right to know who voted for things. Wouldn't that be reasonable?
Oh, I think everything ought to be a roll call in public, but do you have the roll call vote from February 4th at the state party?
I do. Oh, no, I'm not a part of that group. I was a visitor to that group, Jeff. So you're right, I don't have it. But still, though, the people in Greenville deserve to know who voted in those two meetings, in those two Zoom calls. And many of us have bugged you for it for now weeks, and you will not give us that roll call. Now, why is that? You're 100% transparent.
Why is this important?
I know it's not important, but
It's not important to know who voted on something.
I'll tell you who this is. This is Tom Steiner.
Tom Steiner.
You can look me up or whatever you want to do. Why is this important now? We're talking about reorg. We're not talking about things that happened in the past. We're talking about what's happening in the future. And I don't have a lot of time to be messing around, worrying about roll calls and garbage like that. I'm sorry for stepping out of turn, but this is ridiculous.
This is why, but what she's providing us is the reasoning of why this party's taking over.
I believe I did not enter this scene until I was asked the question.
Because
I did not start this thread.
South Carolina and Columbia, and we're trying to be, Greenville's trying to be transparent, at least the people that I know are, right? I have nothing to hide. So you tell me when they're stealing votes or paying for 300 people to join the reorg last time I was involved, Tell me where the transparency is. Fix that in South Carolina and then come talk to us with your concerns.
I'm glad you don't want to live in the past.
Olga just
I
wants to,
apologize to everybody who offended.
but Tom, that what we're instructing is, they're trying to drive people away from the park. So this, you get angry, go find 10 more people, go get 20 more, help another precinct, grow your help other precincts that are around you, help other counties around us. We are going to purge, vote out the Rhino establishment. And what she's doing is personifying what the Rhino establishment. This is exactly what we're dealing with Drew. They actually, I think some of them believe that we're supposed to do nothing more than just have, little meetings with legislators. Sign loyalty oaths. This is exactly contrary to what the Freedom Caucus is fighting for. The Freedom Caucus is fighting for transparency, to be able to say, hey, this R sitting next to me here at the State House is actually pro-choice or pro-government run this. I am dumbfounded to watch Republicans sit there and say things that are leftist, liberal, and they're now identifying them as left-wing Republicans within the South Carolina House of Representatives. That's what we're doing. That's what we're fighting for. But while we're giving her the floor and giving her some time, is so everybody sees exactly what we're dealing. She could be Drew McKissick. That's what Drew McKissick would say. So that's
Talking about dropping bombs there, Jeff, on me. You don't know anything about me. I just told you I was there at the meeting.
We know who you are.
Other bombs, guys, other bombs. So don't talk about other people dropping bombs. You guys do it every time there's a call or every time there's a meeting.
Come to the meeting here so we can.
You're making everything, but where's the evidence?
all right. We got a couple people raising their hands. All right, I think that's enough of that. So we'll move on from there. Thank you for being our best recruiting tool. Ruth, I don't know if you still have your hand up. If you got any more, you can take your hand down. Keith Jones, will go to you, and then Lenore, and then ABV. Mr. Jones.
Folks, I just need to say one thing. Last year, I went to several of the county delegation meetings, and we're supposed to be working with the representatives and this kind of thing. And they wasn't half of them that would show up for the delegation meeting. So how do we work with them if they're not there, if that's supposed to be a meeting? I have not heard that we had a delegation meeting so far this year. So I think they should have already had one this first quarter. I did not hear of anybody saying anything about that meeting.
Yeah, they do quarterly legislative I don't know if they've had one yet this quarter or not. It is kind of a little early in the quarter, so but I'm not sure when the next legislative delegation meeting is. We normally post them and tell people about them to get them out there because it's a great opportunity. But no, I mean I have literally, I don't know, I can't tell you. I mean, I've told people we don't want legislators coming to our meeting and having a rah-rah. We did have Shane Martin come speak. I will tell you, I've been in contact with Shane Martin multiple times this week. We sent out an email today praising Shane Martin because Shane Martin actually saved the school choice, the pay scholarship bill this week. We praised him. It's a $55 million bill. I mean, I've talked to multiple legislators and state senators this week on different things, and that is what we're supposed to do. But I will tell you exactly how that pay scholarship got fixed. It was constituency calls. I mean, they pounded on the legislators to take the school choice program out of the South Carolina Department of Education. The last place homeschoolers and private Christian schools want controlling the money over those Christian schools or homeschooling is the South Carolina Department of Education. And the bill was originally written where it was included under the treasurer's office. They don't really have a dog in that hunt when it comes to how people run their schools. They just want to bring the money in and get it out to people and let the parents decide. And guess who moved it into the Department of Ed? Ellen Weaver, some left-wing Republicans, and they exposed themselves. And they had people all across the state. We were working with people all across the state to talk to their legislators and say, put it back in the treasurer's office. And Shane Martin did that for us. I think the other politician we've had come speak was Hobart Lewis. Sadly, we had a list of questions for Sheriff Lewis, and the person who read the questions to him left out some of the hardball questions. Ruth has you know, and some other folks that we've been working with to kind of come up with those questions, you know, kind of left those questions out. So, but I texted with Hobart this morning and we're setting up a meeting. So he responded to me immediately. So I don't know where this stuff comes from, but Lenore, you had your hand up next. You're actually muted. You're still muted. Let's go to whoever is marked as ABEB. Lenore, see if you can figure it out. He tried. Go find some delegates. Don't get frustrated. Find delegates. I don't know who's identified as ABEB, but you have your hand up. If not, we're going to go to Mike. Mike, you're next, sir.
Yes, I just wanted to make a statement. Saluda County did not know much about reorgs. I talked to you the other night, but the person we got pushing the reorgs is unruly. Let's go on and leave it there. Point is, she's trying to get the reorg to back the party as it is today, Drew and everybody. I've sent an email to Hope about what's going on. And Mark Benoit has stepped in, but there's no answers from anybody. So what they're trying to do in Saluda is, okay, we were weak about reorgs, but now they got someone that they like that's going to be bringing in delegates for them. And you know what I'm talking about. That's it.
Well, you know, what I would love to see, and I certainly, you know, I would love to see the state party have an open Zoom call and let everybody come on and ask, you know, Drew McKissick and Hope Walker and Mark Benoit and Tabitha Bone. I mean, why is Tabitha? I mean, these people are paid. You know, you and I, the rest of it, I mean, we're all unpaid. I mean, I'm putting in 48 hours a day. I mean, there's only 24, and it's like I'm not getting paid. And I'm like, you know, I don't, you know, I'm not getting, I don't even understand. You want to, I mean, you know, I want to get money to children. My cause is school choice, and that's what I'm doing. But everybody else on here has a cause, whether it's a specific cause or a general cause of just helping save America. And we're not going to do it by doing the same thing that got the state of South Carolina to be ranked number 33 out of 50 states. So.
Hey, Jeff, this is Abe. Abe Verghese.
Oh, good. Hey,
CEO of your precinct. Hey, listen, you know, obviously you and I have had good times and we have had our differences, but I want to ask you one question that really bothers me about what happened. Did you have any kind of full warning from the state that this was going to happen and a due process to make changes? Did you get that chance?
No, sir.
That is troubling.
It's troubling for anyone who's an American or a constitutionalist or Republican or even a Democrat. You know, I wouldn't do this to a Democrat. You know, everybody deserves the ability to have their voices heard, and that is actually, quite frankly, why Bill Bledsoe sent over the code sections or the provisions in the Roberts rules that apparently allow us to have a trial, and we could have a trial of Drew McKissick of not providing due process.
Chapter 20, section 61 to 63 allows for a trial and approval of an officer like you.
Section 61 through 63 of chapter 20 of the Roberts Rules of Order. And I can look and see, because I got a picture of it from, you're right, it is Roberts Rules of Order, section 62, 63. Yeah, and there's some other provisions in here, but that's exactly what provides for a trial of someone like what Drew McKissick's doing. So I'm not the expert on it yet, but it sounds like we're going to be experts on it here soon. And we're going to pursue, and I think the body wants me to pursue, and our executive committee to pursue every route and every possibility we have. Lenore, can we try it again?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Good.
Now release.
I had to go to my settings. I'm a real private person. So, you know, I'm a person, I don't really have to have a pat on the back. I don't need somebody to recognize me. I've been in the party for like 30 years now. And I never had anybody come up and say, hey, how are you doing? You want to do this? You want to volunteer? You want to get involved? But I kind of stay in the background. And I just want to ask somebody to tell me, what is the difference in accomplishments and action? Is there a difference?
Between accomplishments and actions. I don't know if someone wants to respond to that.
I'm not really involved in this, political process to have accomplishments, because my government works for me.
Amen.
I do not work for them. And if anybody should be accomplishing anything, it should be my government, a representative republic that represents the people. And that does not include overlords in the state party coming in and just encroaching on our political process at the grassroots level. There is no excuse. I have not heard anybody give a really good reason for it. I'm pissed off, really. And I have been doing this forever. I lived through Patrick Haddon, Ted Groover, Nate Luke, Betty Poe, who had to have Chad by her side so that she could make a reasonable comment to preside over a meeting. I'm tired of being quiet. I am not going to stop, and I'll do whatever I need to do, Jeff, to help bring all these people to the surface and show who they are and what they are. I've asked so many times, at least 10 times, where's the evidence? Can somebody show me the evidence? No, you just have to find out for yourself. Okay, that's all I got to say. I better.
Well done.
I'm taking my hand down now.
Thank you, Lenore. And friends, that is somebody who's been involved in the party. If you're talking back to Patrick Haddon days, I think that's 2011, if I'm not mistaken, way back there. So, you've been involved in coming to the party. I don't think the executive committee has ever voted to approve the date, time, and location of the county convention. You're always told. I don't think the executive committee ever or the former chair leaderships ever had the executive committee approve a budget, as far as I know. Certainly probably never approved a lease, certainly never approved in December of 2020 a new lease, which doubled the rental price. And I jokingly told somebody here yesterday, I said, yeah, could you imagine what would happen if we didn't ask the executive committee and we just automatically doubled the rent on the lease here? Could you imagine? Like, that's exactly what Nate Loip and those guys allegedly did in December of 2020, so they could pay themselves a back rent for the old lease to try to drain our account. So it's very frustrating, and I get it. And this stuff has been going on for a long time. And our goal, number one, is to a big goal is to expose this type of corruption, expose what's going on in the party, because there are a lot of people that are driven away from the party because of this frustration. And guess what? We're going to fight for you. Our whole executive board is on this. And I think the vast majority of our executive committee is on this. We do have some people that appear to think and believe as mySCGOP believes and as Drew McKissick believes, but we're going to fight through. And I think we are the vast majority of South Carolina citizens. And I will tell you, and I get compliments on this all the time. The fault is not these people that are moving here from California, Connecticut, New York, Washington State. Those are some of the best fighters here. The fault is people like myself, my high school buddies and college buddies that are sitting down there at the State House that aren't doing anything. But I'll tell you, Lenore, I don't know the difference necessarily, the semantics of action versus accomplishments. But I can tell you one thing, monoclonal antibodies. We sat there through Senator Verdon and actually Senator Martin as well. Senator Martin had the subcommittee, Senator Verdon, the chair of the Senate Medical Affairs Committee, got us that. I think it was in August of 2021, maybe it was August, September. And, I think people probably remember that testimony. And guess what? It saves lives. we have accomplished something. And if that is the one and only thing we have done,
Amen.
we have done more than the past leadership.
Agree.
So I'm proud of that. And I think we have probably forgotten more that we've done that than the prior leadership has done completely. So we're not here to, support legislators. We're here to hold these legislators accountable.
Amen.
And if you want your legislator to listen to you, then you get 50 people in your precinct and you start working with your neighboring precincts. And if you've got 10, each House rep is probably 10 to 15 precincts, you get, if they say it's 15, that's 750 people. You get those 15 precincts together and you've got 20 people. I mean, that's 20 people per precinct educated. That's 300 people. And I'm telling you, you have a meeting and you get your 20 people from each of those 15 precincts, that House rep is not going to be able to lie to you ever again. And that is what we're doing. There's 2,260 precincts in this state, 2,261 precincts in this state. If we can get 10, 20, 30 people per precinct educated and activated on what's going on, then we will save this country, and we will save our counties and our state and this country. This is the model that is going around the nation, and this is what getting patriots in America first people involved in the Republican Party. We're going to go one question to Abe, and then we're going to go to Jason here.
Okay, Jeff. So, what really troubles me again with this takeover? How many times has the state done this to a county? Is this the first time they have done it in this state?
Never.
I had a phone conversation with the chairman of Pickens, who was yesterday, a gentleman by the name of Tim Bruce. Tim, this was last night. Tim called me because apparently he was told that the precedent that they use is the fact that they've done this before in Pickens. So Tim actually went, and he was at the meeting on the 4th. Tim went and did the research. And so he calls me last night telling me he does not know when they did this in Pickens. So he does not know the basis of it. I don't think there is any basis, but they apparently claimed that the basis of them having the authority or power to do this was in from Pickens. And Tim, I can give you the contact information. I'm not just dropping a bomb. Please let me tell you, anything I tell you, you ask me the questions, I'll provide you any bit of information. I'll get you.
Now, did they give Tim a warning?
Well, apparently it happened, a decade ago, as he thinks, in Pickens, and he's unaware of allegedly it happened, but he can't get an answer.
Drastic, right? I mean, I would think that the right process or rules should say we should have the ability to make corrections so that this kind of stuff does not happen last minute. Boom, it's launched at us, right? Because we are the elected officials and we have spent time getting facility. I've got a facility for Oak View and it doesn't feel right to me what happened, okay? Yeah, you may have broken rules. You and I have disagreed on a ton of stuff. You know that, I know that, but we're both, I'm fair-minded. I like to think of myself that way. But I don't like what the state did. If they did not give us the due process to make correction, I have got a bone to pick with that, because that is not the way to do things. You just don't all of a sudden drop a bomb and say, too bad, we're going to take over and shock everybody. That's my 2 cents worth. It violates my sense of right and wrong. And I have to just speak my mind on that.
Yeah, Abe, I agree with you completely. And we can debate issues and rules and what the interpretations ought to be. We debate everything fully here. And, I do not make any decisions in a vacuum. This is not the Jeff Davis show. And if I do anything from an administrative perspective, what we do, I run it completely by our executive board. And so, because I don't want it to be the Jeff Davis show, I actually don't even want it just to be our executive board show. Okay. So when we solicit information and advice from people, some people know, some people don't, but that's why our executive board meetings are open to the public. That's why this Zoom call is open to the public. We do everything. In a conversation I had with another county chair yesterday, I told them we have 151 precincts. I want 151 precincts out there independently doing what they need to do. I don't want them following what the dictates of the state or the county party is telling them to do. I want them out there doing and stirring things up and coming up with some ideas. And isn't that what America's about? 50 little incubators and 50 little states doing different things, but what has happened to America? It's now become top down. We are ruled by the federal government out of Washington, D.C. And that needs to change.
Yeah.
And and it's not going to be, Greenville is not going to be ruling over 151 precincts. I want each of you precincts actually having meetings and actually doing things. And we've talked about it. We have a meeting here at headquarters or at the Hilton, and we get 200, 300, 400, 500 people. Guess what? We got Greenville separated down into 12 zones. We will have accomplished what our mission is when those zones start having their own meetings of 100, 200, 300 people. If you tell me 15 precincts get together and have a meeting independent of me and what we're doing at the county level, that is going to be when we are successful, because you are then going to there's going to be shock and awe over the legislators that are over those precincts. They're going to be like, oh my God, they've educated themselves and they are activated. And that's what we want. And we should, and the state party should be encouraging that. Let me tell you, we'll go to Jason has one question, but I think part of the reason, the 3-point reasons that I've kind of given out of why I think this has happened is number one, they want the opportunity to cheat once again, like they did in 2021. That, we know that, there's the report that's out there, they cheated then. So amazing that they want to give, run it fair to the same people that cheated and documented the cheating last time. So at least they want to roll the dice and maybe, they can create some division amongst us and try to somehow slip that in. I don't think that's going to happen. But because I think this is actually motivating a lot more people to come together and work together to make sure this sort of untransparent tyranny is stopped. That's number one. Number two is I think they definitely don't want the biggest convention in this state to have an America First speaker. I mean, we're sitting there planning and we're working, and I would love to have had Donald Trump come up here, but I don't think with a gun show next door they're going to allow Donald Trump to come. but because I think some of those guns in the convention center could probably shoot through a couple of walls, so I don't think they're going to let the president come here. But you know what? We could maybe have Don Jr., or we could have Steve Bannon, or we could have Kerry Lake, or something like that. I think but the attention Greenville County would get. I mean, we have 1,455 delegates. That's bigger than the state convention. They only have 944 or 43. I mean, we would be the eye of what's going on for the entire state and the entire Southeast and the first in the country, first in the South presidential preference primary. So they don't want one of those people coming in and speaking. They want to have Lindsey Graham or Mike Pence, or guess what? Nikki Haley. Over my dead body. I mean,
Gates of hell no.
But with that said, if our executive committee did sit there and vote that they wanted Nikki Haley, I might resign. Y'all want me out? Get together and vote to have Nikki Haley be our speaker for the convention. And I'm out.
We could do like
The biggest protest.
we got half the people to stand up and go out because we couldn't vote.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, they've tried walkouts and they've tried to have votes to get everything approved, by the right. But that's reason number two. So the chance of trying to take over, that's a long shot. And I think they know that. Stopping us from running the convention and having a true America First person. But number three, really the really bad part is what they want to do is just like they did last time, drain our accounts. The convention is our biggest fundraiser for the 2-year time period. We would net between $50,000 to $75,000 off of the convention. I mean, what did we get last time? We made 30 some odd $1,000. I mean, it was, that's how they run the party. And guess what? If the state party comes in and runs it, and they thought everybody was going to get
$20 back.
Yeah, Ruth, we're working on your $20, I promise. But if they come and run it, And now they're telling everybody, guess what? It's gonna be free. And it's like, okay, so it's free. We all win. And everybody, you know, we're MAGA America first in all the precincts, in all the count, everything is MAGA America first in Greenville. Guess what? The day after the convention, how much money do we have in the bank? Zero. So we're not going to let that we will play by their rule, on their turf, on their rules, with their referees, and we will beat them. And we will beat them and beat them and beat them, because we have right on our side. And but that, I just want y'all to know, those are the three reasons. Yes, sir. We got one question here in the headquarters, Jason, and then we'll go back.
So, you know, being probably the newest person here to be involved, you know, in the room, I want to try and get involved and knock doors and let people know about this. But the frustrating part about that is that the county's not giving up the election records as we discussed, I think at one point. Is there any movement on that? I mean, is there any possibility that we can get those records so that we can
Door knock?
yeah, effectively?
Yeah. Jason is an EC since for a precinct that was unorganized, probably never been organized. They literally have one delegate, and Jason lives in that neighborhood, and Jason wants to door knock, and he's a great patriot, moved here from out of state because he was sick of the tyranny going on in his state. He's woken up here and he's like, oh my God, it's just as bad down here, maybe worse. But what I'll tell you is the state party does not provide us or allow us to have access to GOP data center, which would then give us the hard R list and the walk list and all that kind of stuff. So I will tell you, mySCGOP has it. We've gotten it. We've got a donor that supported us in purchasing that information. So we will give that to America First folks. If the state party provided it to Greenville, I'd give it to everybody. But I assume the rhinos in our county have access to it, and they have the information. So they've got it already. But we're working on that right now. We're working. We have the old list that we provided people from 2 years ago with voting records. We have our own hard R list. We're trying to work on getting that so we can get it out to folks on that. And then we do have the June primary list that voted last June. But when we got that list from Conway's office, they didn't give us addresses. It was just some names and maybe precincts. I don't know, but it's like, why does this? You know, I mean, but thank friends. I mean, you know, we're trying. And eventually, you know, we purge out Drew McKissick and the rhinos in the state party. We'll be providing, you know, all of this. We will actively grow precincts across the state. You as a precinct DC will be a real position. And a precinct president, those will be real positions to go out and do stuff. Right now with our candidate recruitment and what Joe Farmer's doing over there, and they're doing great work in that group, we're actually going back to some of the precincts that are under certain House reps or county council reps and saying, you guys start getting together and organizing, and y'all tell us who you want to run for this office. You know, maybe you're happy with whoever your representative is. Maybe you're not. I don't know. But y'all are people, it's you on the ground. Y'all need to go in there and start talking to each other and saying, and maybe you find somebody in your group that wants to run for office. And, you know, we've talked about the big vision of what we're working toward is we want to take back, number one, the bully pulpit of all 46 GOPs and the state party, because we can get press. Look, I mean, we did a press release about Nikki Haley, and I sent it to the Trump campaign. I should have sent it to the DeSantis campaign and to you know, General Flynn and probably Kerry Lake. So I'm going to do that this afternoon. Thanks for making me think about that. But I sent it to the Trump campaign, and they were pretty excited to see that press release because we mocked it after the release that President Trump wrote out, the real Nikki Haley. If you look on the Greenville GOP press release, the real Nikki Haley. You know, she lied. She said one thing, she put her word out there, and she went back on it. You know, I got issues with Nikki Haley because she was the person that targeted us for audit and a big reason of why the school choice program was destroyed for special needs children back in 2014. So, I mean, that's things we're working through. And you know, but we have a voice as a party. Imagine if we had 46 counties saying something. And then 46 counties rolled all up, and then the state party did, pushed it through. I mean, Newberry passed a resolution or censure the GOP House Republican Caucus because of what they're doing to the Freedom Caucus. Do you think the state party is going to do that? I mean, the only reason Newberry did it is because Joe White's from Newberry, and he's the House rep for the whole county. But I'm going to tell you, the state party is not going to do it. There's no way in heck, because the state party is the GOP, is pulling the strings for the GOP House, Republican caucus. So it's Joe was able to get Newberry to do it, but imagine we had all 46 counties doing it. That's where we eventually want to go. But we don't have it right now. I mean, we're putting some stuff together and we'll get it to you because we want you to grow it. But I mean, you see the other fights. Instead of me putting that sheet together and doing PDFs and all that kind of stuff, we're sitting here. We should all be door knocking. So, oh, Bob.
It's not, it's easy to do, but don't be surprised. People come up with excuses. There's going to be a lot of people out there that have to wash their hair that night. It's okay, because not all of them will be that night. And however many you get, that's more than we've had before. So just don't let it get you down when a lot of people come up with excuses.
I'll tell you, people will give you excuses, and then all of a sudden they show up at a meeting. You're like, huh. You plant the seed. And what I found in my precinct, I get credit for the people we turned out. Guess what? I planted the seed and a few people that then said, you know what? I'll go out and find people. This is fun. I mean, it was really the people in my precinct that went out and did. There's actually some Bob Jones people that went out and did it and brought other people in. And don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater about it. I'm mad at Bob Jones, or I'm mad at Catholics, or I'm mad at Masons, or I'm mad at, I mean, there's bad people in every group. And every group, and there's good people, and I could not be more excited to be working with some of the folks that are good Christians out of Bob Jones, and my precinct literally butts Bob Jones. And the story I always tell is when we were doing this 2 years ago, I said, guess what? We're going to get some leadership in Bob Jones. I mean, Randy Page is the chief of staff for the president of Bob Jones. I've said we're going to get some of these people, and I was told, gave me an old finger. I know. Stop you right there. I know exactly what you're talking about, and those people need to go. So there's a battle within that community. There's battles within all community, but it's a cabal of people that we got to get out there, and don't throw everybody out there. Lenore, you're back on, and then we'll go to Tim. Sorry.
Yeah, this is real quick question.
Yeah. He's going to vote for Nate now.
Where can I find and read or see the evidence presented to these 44 county ECs that made the decision to come and intrude on our reorg?
I mean, maybe Brenda knows. I would call Tabitha. I'd call Drew McKidd. They were in the room. I mean, Brenda was there. Tabitha was there. So they saw the same evidence that other counties saw, because other ECs and other people that were there, they didn't know anything beforehand. So
it just makes me question the reliability or the authenticity of evidence, because I can't seem to get any answers.
I would love the evidence to be presented, because I would love to find out that I'm funded by George Soros. So I mean, we're told that we're either funded by George Soros or I've bankrupt the Greenville GOP. I mean, pick. I don't know which one it is. We're either loaded with money or we got no money. I can't figure it out. We've got some Mike, the iPhone too. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry. I've told Tom, Joel, Fred. He's actually got a vote Nate shirt on now, because he's like, you got my name wrong. I got 3 letters and started with the first.
I can't read these. They're too long.
Quite frankly, I've stopped reading them too.
You type a memo, give me bullet items on the first paragraph and then explain it, and I'll read it if I want to read. Yeah. But don't give me a story of your life. Anyhow, my question, you're waiting for this, right? Hey, can we get the, has anybody talked to the national committee to maybe they could squeeze McKisson's head a little bit to get him to think about things before he does them? And then we brought the press, like Tara and those folks, are they involved at all?
Well,
or can we call and make their lives miserable? Or?
I would call, yes. I would, instead of bringing, and this is what I've been telling people recently, if you bring, I mean, there's no point in getting into an email exchange with Nate. There's no point whatsoever. All these people, I mean, we gave Brenda the floor here for a little bit just to but there's no point in doing that. Go to their bosses, and their boss in the case of Nate is Adam Morgan. You should well, and that's eventually, but there's somebody above Drew McKissick too. At some point, I mean, Drew McKissick is relatively irrelevant to me as well. There's somebody pulling Drew McKissick strings. Right. So we need to find out who that person is. It could be, look at who funds the state park. I mean, we all pick on Lindsey Graham. He's okay being the whipping boy, but guess what? You don't want to know who was a harvested ballot in 2021? His upstate director, Danielle Gibbs. She runs she followed the money. She runs the upstate office for Tim Scott. Why was she a harvested ballot? She and her husband a harvested ballot. They live. Guess where she lives? She lives in I think it's Sugar Creek with Diane Mitchell. I have to check, but she was. It's one of them. Yeah, 2021, Tim Scott's upstate director and her husband were harvested ballot. Two of the 423. Yes, sir. This is an information war. We've got to get the information out. Mike on the phone, and then we'll go to PG-13.
Okay, I just wanted to answer that question since I was there. So the evidence was the false flyer on Cunningham, where Drew had put UPA, mySCGOP, Palmetto Watch, Liberty Coalition on that sheet, and the obvious implication was that he was thanking those organizations for his run for governor, and then implying that because Jeff is mySCGOP, the whole GOP was supporting Cunningham. It wasn't said that way, but it was laid out that way, and that's what everybody, including myself, I was like, that was the first time I saw it. It's like, holy, is this true? That's number one. Number two is they went after the fact that they're saying we will not have had any meetings for 8 consecutive months. It was and again, Nate's always positioning things. The fact is, we had monthly meetings, Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, July. We had a special meeting in August. We had regular meetings September, October. November was get out the vote. So we were working on that, and we didn't have an actual meeting. December, we had the Christmas party, which is pretty typical of most counties. January, we did have a Zoom call to suspend meetings during the reorg because we want to focus on reorg. And then February, we had the meeting to approve the dates that we presented. So in addition to that, there's coffee and politics every Friday. They have Constitution and Bible classes. We have Saturday reorg training sessions, all kinds of stuff going on all the time. I would say we're probably one of the most active counties in the state, but I won't say we are the most because I don't know what other guys are doing. The fact of the matter is they hit those two things with us pretty hard. They looked at also during the just prior to it, we put out our list of Republicans running in the midterms, and there were some that we gave extra oomph for because they were, we believed, America First type candidates. There were others that we didn't believe really were following that, and so they were kind of put on. We didn't say don't vote for them, but we didn't highly endorse them. But we did put at the top of that, we don't endorse any Democratic candidate whatsoever. So, and they used that as us not playing Republican rules properly. So those were the things they threw out the meeting, and as the reason why we're out of control. Along with they didn't really talk about Walt. They didn't really talk about any of these president precincts that we were considering, but then realized it was against the rules, so we didn't do it. A lot of it's projection, and it's not real. That's why I put that rebuttal letter out there, and I did my diligence. I had Janice pull up all the minutes so that we knew the meetings that we were laying out actually happened. So we have the proof of everything we did. Drew McKissick told Harrison Muscle White in a conversation that he made up that flyer. Now, I can't say that's absolutely true because I wasn't on the call, but Harrison's a pretty religious and Christian guy. I don't think he'd lie. But there you have it. So we're just trying to respond to all the attacks that they have on us. But the reality is they want to shut us up. They don't want to have America people out there. They want people that are going to comply county by county and follow the RNC down. And remember that Drew is a co-chairman for the national RNC. So he's gained more power. I don't think we can go to the national level for help. So that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go to Pamela, because you had, or Lenore, you got something real quick? Pamela, hold on one second. We'll get
in response to what he just said, I appreciate that, Mike. So what I gather is that the 44 county ECs who voted to take over our reorg, they had so-called half-baked evidence and downright lie if you talk about the Cunningham flyer. So if this is all the evidence, they, I think, are probably a good target for legal action. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and just to, and we'll go to you next, Pamela, but yeah, some people have said, hey, let's get out and file a court case today. Let's ask for an injunction, legal injunction. You'll remember that Presley and those guys did that to try to have a live in-person convention with the state 2 years ago. And the court did not give them a temporary emergency injunction. An injunction you're only going to get if it's something that's permanent and irreparable. For example, if you were somebody was going to cut down a tree and you needed, because if you cut that tree down, it's a 300-year-old tree, you're not going to be able to replace it. No amount of money is ever going to fix, cutting down a 300-year-old tree. So they're not going to give us a temporary injunction to stop, or emergency injunction to stop what's going on here. But we do have, so we can go through the process. So whether we file somebody files a declaratory law judgment case now or after, that's a determination. I know there's people from a legal perspective that are thinking about trying to figure that out. It would certainly get a lot of press. I think it would get a lot of attention, and I would certainly highly encourage it, because I do think we need to fight on every front, procedurally in the courts, with Robert's Rules of Order, with all this. And part of that is back to the comment of, there's no point in discussing with Nate Lloyd. You got to go to their bosses, and you got to go to an Adam Morgan. Nate works for him in the business, but when he's sending emails at 11 o'clock during the office hours, I'm telling you, if my boss saw me participating in this type of stuff all during office hours, he or she is probably going to be chewing my butt, So, I don't know, maybe Nate has some super flexible schedule, or he's doing it from work, but regardless of that, Adam is a House rep. He's the chairman of the South Carolina State Freedom Caucus. Is there freedom in I think due process actually comes out of our Constitution, right? Freedom comes out of our Constitution, right? So shouldn't Adam care about freedom and due process? And why is he not? So, whether you look at it because Nate actually physically works for him as a job, but if this is a House rep, call your House rep and ask them and get them on the line and figure this stuff out. So why would any politician, even if you got a Democrat, if you're in a Democrat, you got to, Democrats oppose this stuff. We got Democrats, that are sitting there, shocked by this type of stuff. So, but follow that process. But I don't think there's any point of trying to run out and get a court and do some temporary injunction or something like that. That's just never going to happen, because, we can, whether this happens, 6 months later, they reverse some stuff, that's fine. But, we'll just, just that I don't think from that legal perspective it would help. Pamela?
Good morning and happy Saturday, everyone. Just wanted to let you guys know that I posted under the chat section an RNC link with a transcript, basically a script that you guys can modify to yourselves, that a group of us have been doing, about 100 of us have been doing about 4 hours a day for the past week. And I think you should if you're on board with shaming Drew and making sure he's exposed from darkness to light, I would suggest you go on this link and fill in the message box and send it, because it's going to Rona and the people that work for her. I think this is a start. We cannot allow rules for me, but not for thee. So we have to be vigilant, persistent, and professional. And this checks all boxes. So just wanted to encourage you to do that. And everybody, I'm proud of everyone on this call. Just wanted you to know.
Yeah, that's Pamela Godwin. She is out of Lexington County. She is over the South Carolina Women's for Trump Midlands chapter. They are doing a fantastic job partnering with us and working in the Midlands area of doing this type of ground work. It is hard work sitting there doing stuff. You know, we have a headquarters here, and I'm encouraging anybody that wants to come in and work with us. We got offices, tables, you know, bring your laptop, whatever, you know, because, you know, they remember they had their $9,800 party and their $5,400, you know, compilation from an accountant and $2,000 of back rent. It would be nice to have that money to pay for fix the printer and to get some computers and stuff. But we're going to get there. We are going to professionalize this, and we're going to get you know, really step it up. But what Pamela's doing down in the Midlands is she, you know, we'll look at it, and someone here asked us to post out, you know, her script and how to do that. But yeah, we ought to be, you know, organizing to do call banking against or to Rona and those guys at the RNC, and we ought to do it for House reps. I think people ought to be sitting here calling each of the House reps and talking to them and setting up meetings and discuss. Some of them will meet you and talk. Some of them don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Guess what? You're not a leader if you don't want to touch this issue with a 10-foot pole.
Amen.
You know? So we need people that are going to lead. And at some point, these legislators are going to start doing what they've asked us our vote for, which is to be a leader and actually, you know, get involved in some of this stuff. So realize legislators only want to be, all they care about is getting reelected. And when they start fearing that the folk, that the you know, the animals or whatever they want to call us, or you know, the natives or whatnot are getting restless, then they're going to start, you know, saying, guess what? Nate's the problem. And that is what I've heard from a lot of people, is they're starting to see, you know, wait a second. These people have been accused of all kinds of things. They're just generic. Oh, Jeff, you know what rules you broke, but I'm not going to tell you any of them. You just go do the research. And folks are starting to figure that out. Mainstream Republicans are starting to say, wait a second, it's not these guys. They're actually pushing the platform. And that's what we want to vote for. So, you know, it's not Jeff Davis saying there's a problem. It's CPAC. It's you know, it's ALEC. American Legislative Exchange Council says, you know, we got the nation's worst rated school choice program. I mean, we're about last in everything. The only thing we're first in is bad stuff. So, you know, I'm kind of sick of it, and I think a lot of people are sick of it, and that's what we need to organize better for. So I encourage anybody, if you can help us, if you can volunteer. I mean, we need, I put out a call the other day. We need somebody to be our main liaison for writing FOIA requests. You know, there's just, literally there's stuff going on at State Election Commission. Guess what? We can FOIA it. But we got to send them a FOIA request. The State Election Commission is so compromised and in the pockets of these legislators. You know, it's you know, it's a mess. And some people have said, oh, well, the State Election Commission should step in and do something. The State Election Commission is not going to save us. What will happen is, you know, a lawsuit, and they'll have to read the, you know, they're not going to do anything. But if we file a lawsuit, get a judge to, or somebody files it, get a judge to interpret the law. It's pretty clear. Read it for yourself. We put it out there, but you can read it and just watch a judge sit there and say, no, that's not what it says. 1 + 1 does not equal 2. So, but guess what? Then that'll help us. You know, if a judge says that, that'll help us, you know, expose the fact that we have one of the worst judiciaries in the state, because guess who picks the judges? The legislators. So we're trying to get judicial reform, you know, through, and the governor actually talked about it in his inauguration speech in early January, that they want judicial reform, because my classmate down in Hampton County, Alex Murdaugh from law school, killed his wife apparently and his son.
Murdaugh.
Allegedly. So, but no, everybody knew what was going on in Hampton, and guess what? It's not just going on in Hampton; it's going on in every county. There is a legal cabal up here in Greenville. Read about it. So it's out there, and we'll talk more. So, any more questions? Yes, sir. Jim Wicks. Jim Wicks, EC of Ashton Lakes, and I will tell you, Jim has done a fantastic job. Go look at a website, AshtonGOP.com. go to AshtonGOP.com. That is what I think we would want to programatize it a little bit better for our 151 precincts or our 2,261. But Jim built a website for his precinct. It is fantastic. Go look at it. AshtonGOP.com.
What I was, I have a question here. You say that Tabitha, is that right?
Tabitha Bone.
Tabitha Bone is calling our leadership, and us. And I don't know what she's talking about or anything, but can you sort of give us your idea of how we should work with her, what we should respond?
I'm happy. Let me give you her phone number. Her name is Tabitha Bone, B-O-N-E, Tabitha, T-A-B-I-T-H-A, Tabitha Bone. Her phone number, her mobile number is 843-372-6815. Somebody could type that in the chat, 843-372-6815. Her email is Tabitha@SCGOP.com. Tabitha at SCGOP.com. But call her. She literally Thursday, I got reports from 3 different people that she had talked to. I got 3 different answers. She told people 3 different things. So, she's a young girl. But guess what? I've talked to her once. I think Nate Loip was messing with her, gave her my phone number. This was because she worked the victory campaign. She called me, I don't know if it was last spring or whenever, or maybe it was, it must have been in June, whatever they were doing. She called me and introduced, she was going to come the next day to our coffee. And she literally told me on the phone call, she's like, "You're the nicest person I spoke to today." And I said, "Well, come to our coffee. I want you to meet people." I'm like, "This will be great. We'll play the game." And guess what? She had a family emergency, couldn't come to the coffee, and she has never returned a phone call or a text message since to me. Right.
And she was supposed to help me with my campaign, Jeff. You know my experience. I think, as I understand it, this is the first time they've used these victory campaign people in reorg. It is, to my knowledge, has not been done before. So this is another part of the playbook to try to disrupt the movement.
Yes, typically in what Devon's talking about, they would have a victory campaign. So every 2 years or whatnot, or I guess when you have somebody running for Senate or the governor's race, they'd have offices across the state, 3 or 4 of them. And then, they'd have these people that would work through November to kind of help organize and door knock and all that kind of stuff for either whoever our nominee is, the governor, or for in this case, Tim Scott or Lindsey Graham 2 years ago. So that's the victory offices. Now, guess what? This year, and normally they lost their job after the November election. Well, this year they decided to retain them through reorg. So they're all going to continuing working, and Tabitha is working to help us help the counties facilitate the reorg, which is really nothing more than continuing, trying to promote Drew McKissick. So the question is, who is funding these victory campaign offices to stay open from November till March or April or May? Well, I don't know if it's George Soros, but I doubt it's George Soros making direct contributions to the SCGOP. But look at who's donating to, or where the money's coming from. I saw some large contributions come from Tim Scott's office to the SCGOP. And Tim Scott's got 25, 50 million. I don't know what he's got, but he sort of had a bunch of money in the bank. And guess how much money Tim Scott's campaign gave to Yvonne Julian? $1,000. Actually, did give her 1,000, but gave everybody, every Republican nominee, everyone. So it's not that they were buying off Yvonne Julian for $1,000. But Tim Scott's, if you're that cheap, that's great. But Tim Scott's office sent $1,000 to every Republican nominee in that situation, at least for the House and the House members. So, but guess what? Did Tim Scott do anything else? Tim Scott had zero competition, and Tim Scott did not. Tim Scott could have barnstormed this state and helped people like Yvonne Julian, could have helped a ton of other people. He just didn't do it. He didn't do it. He talked about, oh, I come from a cotton picking whatever thing. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What divisiveness are you creating there? So it's not surprising that Tim Scott's campaign is funding the SCGOP. And it's not surprising that Tim Scott's upstate director, Danielle Gibbs, I'm happy to give you her phone number. Because I've tried to meet with her and get her to meet with our executive board, and just some reason can't seem to get it together. But I now know and understand why Tim Scott, who is the nation's biggest school choice supporter in our federal government or Congress or Senate, has never done a single thing to help us on the school choice fight here in South Carolina. And as I've talked to some press people about it, it's kind of interesting that the biggest voice for school choice in Congress, Tim Scott, comes from a state with the nation's worst rated school choice program.
Amen.
But you did see Tim Scott endorse Ellen Weaver, right? You did. So there's a lot of things that are a little confusing, and don't, as I tell people, don't trust anybody. I'm not asking you to trust do not trust a single thing I said today. If there's something you want to know, ask me the question. You can test me.
Go outside.
I think Angie's walking her dog. We're going to mute you. But you should, don't trust anyone. Do not trust anyone. I got a tape of Chad Conley, in former SCGOP chairman and Drew McKissick's mentor, and he's the EC, state EC for Newberry, and Edie Rowe, who is the state EC from Richland County. A couple weeks ago, they presented in Kershaw County on unity. And in that unity presentation, all they did was trash everybody. And that's where, discussing unity, Chad Conley sits there and said, I've sued him 12 times. I'm like, show me where I've sued you 12 times. I can't show you that I haven't. I mean, I can show you the ones I have sued, but I can't show you the thousands and tens of thousands of other cases and show, hey, my name's not on there and your name's not on there. But he can't show that I've sued him 12 times. And he literally said that I had sued 266 Republicans. And one of the people in the audience actually corrected him and said, didn't you say it was 252? So the number just seems to keep growing and growing and growing. So, but I mean, ask. But how many? I don't know how. At least that person did question him. I mean, at least that person only thinks I sued 252 people. But I'd love them to do a little more research and ask me. So it is my right to do it. I mean, what am I supposed to do? And a lot of people have been talking about Matthew 18:15-7 is, we're supposed to go to the person and all that. I've done that. I sued Ellen. The first lawsuit I filed was against Ellen Weaver in May of 2018 because she had told people that I was disbarred from the practice of law in June of 2016. So she would not stop. She would not meet with us and talk with us. And it was coming up to the statute of limitations. If I just let the statute of limitations run, then I'm out. So that's why we filed the lawsuit. I said, if she won't talk to me in person, then I'm going to file this lawsuit. So. Right. Greenville County GOP has not sued anybody. These are just excuses. If I'm not here, it's the next person's problem. Look at how they're treating Yvonne Julian. Look how they're treating our entire executive board. Look how they're treating the entire, Greenville Executive Committee. Y'all voted for particular dates, and the law says you're supposed to put, you're supposed to decide on the, date, time, and location of the county convention, which also then includes the precincts that roll up into that. And they're slapping it in your face. And we put out the one article, you'll be next. That's not me. It's the person it was Presley before me and somebody before them, and it'd be somebody after me and somebody after the next person. So obviously Olga's from Poland and grew up from 15 minutes or miles from Auschwitz. I mean, this is what it is, folks, and that was not that long ago. This is human nature, and this is what these people are doing if we don't wake up to it. So if I could step away and the world then in the state of South Carolina becomes a top 5, CPAC rated conservative state, I'm out. I'm happy to go, but it's not going to happen. It has not happened forever. And it's certainly under the 6 years of Drew McKissick running things. And I will tell you, because I see it on the screen behind me, we're not making this stuff up. There's a video that was done. It's a 20 some odd minute video about from the whistleblower information of what was exposed in Horry County. I mean, this is a concerted effort. This is what I actually personally believe it's a criminal RICO racketeering organization. I think it's criminal. I mean, they are sitting there interfering with election law, because if you interfere with elections and who's in power, then there's a whole bunch of money wrapped up around. This is what the RICO is, how they broke up the mobs. But how do you really think the FBI is going to do anything, or SLED, or these people? I mean, we put out 2 days ago or 3 days ago. Well, actually on Monday earlier this week, Nate Loip sent out an email that disclosed that Adam Morgan and Jennifer Black knew about the alleged anonymous donor within 7 to 8 days of the reorg. So Adam Morgan knew about it when he was out door knocking and getting people to sign Form 1s, which he was doing in his neighborhoods to get harvested ballots. Jennifer Black knew about it before she announced that she was going to run for county chair. I mean, John McMakin, I mean, I'm happy to tell it to his face, but I'm like, everybody knows John McMakin flipped on everyone. And it was like, why all of a sudden at the last minute did he endorse or support Jennifer Black and those guys? Because it made no sense. John McMakin had always been, America first, liberty and all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden he's supporting Jennifer Black. I think somebody read him into the agenda and said, hey, yep, we got an anonymous donor, really important person. And we got 423 harvested ballots, and there's no way those guys are going to win. They cheated, and they need to be exposed for it. And Nate just threw his boss, personal and or business or political boss, under the bus. Adam Morgan, chairman of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus, knows about this. Now, back to Matthew 18. On Thursday, I texted Adam Morgan asking him if he'd get together and talk about some of this stuff. On Thursday, I texted 4 other members of the House Freedom Caucus and asked them, what do you want me to do? Because this stuff is getting out there, and what do you want me to do? And one of them said he would go talk to Adam, and I said, I'm here at headquarters. When Adam's on his way home, stop by, whatever. I've not heard a single word from Adam Morgan. So I'm not bashing Adam Morgan without at least attempting to get him to come to the table. But Adam Morgan's not going to come to the table because Adam Morgan can't answer some simple questions.
So Jeff, we're getting a lot of things in the chat about getting back to reorg. So I'm just watching this. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, let's this is this is kind of reorg too. That's why we're in this mess. But I've told people, I think why the state party is taking over the Greenville reorg. I point it right back to Adam Morgan. I think Adam Morgan has a big thing to do with why the state party is doing this. So if you want to ask why this is happening, call Representative Adam Morgan and ask him. Because I think my gut tells me Adam Morgan is a big part of this. Right. Yeah, we're not going to do our own separate thing. We will do what they say we should do, and we will do it under protest, protecting all legal rights to complain about it later. But yeah, they are not going to recognize our leadership. They're not going to recognize our 90 delegates, and we have got to get them to recognize our leadership and our delegates. And right. Oh, we're going to do next Saturday, the 25th, down at the library. We've got 2 of the big rooms. We're going to do a training. We're going to do, but the reorg training that we talk about is the same. It's universal. The only thing we don't really know, they'll play with some games, but getting out and knowing general issues in regards to parliamentary and how a meeting should be handled and all that type of stuff. That's what we're going to be educating people on there and answering. Hopefully, maybe we'll know more information about it in the next week.
I thought SCGOP was having.
Yes, they're supposed to watch out of the bone with them. We are supposed to shoot the person comes out Monday to, I guess, president, letting them know what's going on, and then they're gonna have a Zoom call. So that's all I know. She talked to me first, and that's what she said to me. So she talked to 2 other people the same day and gave them different information.
So we don't really know. I don't think they really know what to do.
So you did?
I'm a president.
Oh, okay, good.
So the thing is, if it's a Zoom call, That's, you don't get nothing done. It's costs.
I know.
Well, maybe they're gonna give a location.
Well.
Oh, and she said that they were gonna do cluster precinct reorgs, that they have so many meeting places for each
Right.
precinct.
Yeah, and that's what they've done in other counties. They've done, like in Charleston County, they've got 10 different clusters or 8 different areas. So, well, and that, well, there, yeah, but there's still a Republican Party down there. They actually have done some decent things down there. But instead of having your own individual precinct reorg, they want to have, say, 10 locations. I mean, for us, that would be 15 precincts in one location. I don't know where you get 10 locations at a whole 750 people.
They've got to have those locations. They just can't snap.
I know. Well, that's the point. They have information and they're not telling us. I will tell you anything and everything we know. I will tell you at 2:30 on Friday, they had not paid for the convention space that they had asked for. They hadn't paid for it. I don't know why. Brenda's been contacting and discussing it with the convention center here, but I guess she doesn't want to discuss that.
So what do we tell people?
Just say we don't know the date, but let get their contact. And I mean, it would be much easier to say, hey, come out this place this time. Though, but that's part, but we can't stop. We have to say, hey, well, and stick with our date, but say, hey, time, date, look, subject to change. You tell them it's subject to change. And I know that is much harder and it prevents us from growing the party as big as we want to grow it. But it would also utilize the fact of what they're doing to bring out more people. Say, you know what, this is why you ought to come out. I know you want to wash your hair that night, but guess what? You want to save America or wash your hair. I mean, come on out. This utilize this, and some of my friends call it the boomerang effect. Everything they throw at us, you just boomerang it right back at them. And you know what? If they're going to throw this lack of transparency and all this kind of stuff at us and change the dates on the executive committee and what they voted, just utilize it to bring out more people. If everything was fine and dandy and good, why would they come out? Find the people that are upset about it and want to come out more.
What you're telling me right now, if they're doing a group thing like you mentioned, I have to hustle my precinct and get the people out that are gonna vote for my precinct.
Right.
Because my precinct, the original election, there was a lot of older people there that went to the end of the road and verified and did the voting.
Right.
So this means
you're going to have to, this is what they did to me in my precinct 2 years ago. Instead of the 45 people or 50 people going down to our neighborhood church, right down the street, they put us in the back corner of the Hilton. And it was a mess. It was a bunch of people stuffed in there as opposed to our little reorg having it in one, but they wanted us in a closed area so they could control us. It made it more difficult to get people to come there. So it is going to be more difficult for you to get people there. Now, I'll also tell you, it will be more difficult for them to get people there. But then that's why I don't think they really care whether they win or lose. They could rent buses, but you should rent a bus. They could. Lenore, you've got your hand up. And let me just make one other statement before I forget this. One of the things that they did to us last year is, remember, you can only use their forms, and then they don't provide you enough forms. So now this year they are going to have this triplicate form 1. Fantastic idea. I think it's great. White page, and then the next page is pink, and the next page is yellow, or whatever the color. And then one is for the county party, one is for the actual precinct, and one is for the state party. Perfect. I love it. It's a great idea. Guess what? Pickens needs 900 of them. You know how many they were given at this meeting? 5 or 250. Charleston needs 2,200 of them. Guess how many they were given? 500. Anderson, I don't know the exact numbers, but they were only given about 25% of what they needed. Don't tell me the state party, who's got hundreds of thousands, million, whatever amount of money they got, can't afford to buy enough Form 1 sheets. Well,
we are missing 100.
Only 100. You're lucky if you're only missing 100.
Well, we needed 300 and we have 200.
Oh, you need.
I can't hear you. Okay.
I have to leave in 5.
Okay, but we didn't get any. We'll go to Lenore, but we need 3,000. We need 1,455 times 2. We need them for all of our delegates and all of our alternates. I mean, I got 15 delegates in Timberlake. I'm gonna easily have 30 people and fill up the whole thing for alternates and delegates. It'll be no brainer. Where am I gonna? I got 0 Form 1s now, but what they did at the end, they're like, oh, well, you can just fill out whatever form. But they started using copies. I can show you the 423 we've got of the harvest ballots. They actually had something that were not watermarked, and they had post reorg on them, and they're not even signed by the delegate, the people themselves. They're signed by Nate. And actually one of the people on the rules committee that sat there, LaDonna Riggs, that sat there and said that they should take it over. I got her signature on about 200 of them. So LaDonna on the rules committee, a parliamentarian, says they should take over our reorg to make sure it's fair. She's on 200 sheets of them, and she was the one here. She's the paid SCGOP operative. But Lenora, I know you got a quick turn.
Yeah, I'm in Charleston this weekend. I've got to go pick somebody up. What you were saying just a minute ago about if you've got your precinct location already, we should go ahead, and stay involved with our precinct. I intend to. I do have my location already reserved, and it's where I've always had it. And I plan to never quit, and I will be involved no matter what. But what you said about them putting all these precincts together in different locations, grouping them together, I want to draw a parallel to that, and it's pretty much what you kind of touched on it. This is what they did in Maricopa County. The Republicans did. They grouped all these different voting precincts into voting centers, so they had more control over the elections. Look what's going on there now.
Amen.
We lose control of our own grassroots movement when we get thrown into these big groups like a voting center. They think they can control better, just like you said. By doing that, it's a bad idea.
Well, it's obviously a bad idea because they're doing it. It's not freedom, it's not that. But I will tell you also what they did in Arizona. This last race, they didn't have enough ballots. They didn't have enough machines printing them out fast enough. People didn't get a vote. So I mean, what they're doing, it's obvious, and it's being done by the Republicans and the Democrats. It's the Uniparty that's doing this. So it is what it is. But it actually occurred to me as we were sitting here talking, you have your place reserved. Guess what? Why don't you, even that day, if they've hopefully, and this will change their whole mechanism right here. I'm going to tell you something. Instead of it, we don't know when their date is. And what I have heard, they're going to do these clusters, and they'll have them maybe on different dates. So because there's not enough of these rhinos that can come watch everything. And let me assure you, I bet you somebody's going to be in charge of watching and parliamentarian stuff. It'll probably be Everett Headley, and it'll probably be Jeff Arnold. It'll probably be, the same old guard. And they'll be bringing all, but just LaDonna Riggs, it's going to be the same people. And so the same people that cheated in the line before are going to be doing it. But realize, so it may move around, but, save your meeting place and go ahead and have a precinct meeting then and talk about your strategy and what you're going to do and introduce and just, have a meeting, even if you can't. So there's no point of doing our own separate reorg. That's a little silly. But go ahead and have that, save your location and have your meeting. You can do that now, because I've said that they'll schedule all the reorgs before the 14th. so oh yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely do that. Any more questions on reorg? And we're kind of, we'll sit here and let people ask questions, but I don't want to keep anybody.
This cluster thing, like, we're assuming they're gonna do. Will any of our people have any control over it? I mean, because that's what they're gonna do. Exactly right. They're gonna have everything when they're doing their thing. Are our people gonna be in there so we know the process is fair? At least we're watching them.
We are going to try, but remember 2 years ago, they would not let, in Adam Morgan's office building, Majesty Music down there, they would not let any of us in the building while they were counting the ballots or whatever they're doing with election runner. We have yet to get the data from election runner because it's a whole pulling hair out, because apparently Nate Lloyd paid it personally, and then he was reimbursed from the party for the $2,500. But since he paid it personally, we can't get the information. So now, and I will tell you, I have gotten, I did get one data dump that came out of election runner that Nate shared with the investigative committee. and I can tell it's been altered. And it has to do with IP addresses and some things like that. And they played with it. And maybe I ought to talk to some tech people about some of that stuff. But I'm like, there's so much stuff that they're throwing at us that we have heard that the current presidents will still be in charge, but then, you know, I don't know. Who knows?
Where do I get?
They would, yeah. I mean, but they, yeah, they could. I don't know.
I think the smaller book's that way.
Oh,
And then we got some.
of what? Yes, if you're interested in Robert's Rules of Order, if you go to the mySCGOP YouTube page, go to youtube.com/mySCGOP. There, if you go down a little bit, there's 2 videos. One that was done by Judge Chumley, Rob Chumley, you know, the Representative Chumley's son, that did it for us 2 years ago. And it goes through that. He's got all the stuff, and we've cleared it all up, so it's great. And the second one was done by Samuel Harms, who's a former GOP chairman. It's actually on the screen behind me, but Samuel gave us the permission to use his video that he and Bill Rhodes have done. Bill worked with us with the Tea Party, and not a fan of Patrick Hatton. Because Patrick, the accusations that Bill's made against Patrick is Patrick was an employee of his and stole a bunch of business. So he did that. He made that accusation at a GOP meeting one time. So, but if you want to learn about Robert's rules, these will give you these 2 videos. One behind my shoulder right now on the TV. It will kind of walk you through that. But you should learn Robert's rules. We want people learning about our party rules. We want people learning about the applicable state rules and code, and we want people learning about Robert's rules, because the more information, the more educated you are. Because think where we're eventually going. We're eventually going to go to the point where people will be doing precinct meetings, or you'll at least be doing joint precinct meetings with 10 or 15. Instead of Jeff Davis and GOP up here doing something, I want y'all doing it down in your part of the county, wherever it is. And we want it in all 46 county, people doing these things. And y'all, there will be a chairperson of the zone district, whatever, 12 of Greenville County, and elect, we can structure it. I mean, we may have to build in the rules or something, but ideally that's what y'all are doing. And then y'all would be a powerhouse of what you're doing there locally. I mean, we want to empower, downstream. So that's the goal and the vision of where we're going.
I just want to speak to that. You take the attendance list from your Precinct ReOrg and use that as a starting point to recruit people to come and have, say, a monthly or bi-monthly precinct meeting. Get together, have people bring stuff, make it, everybody brings their own stuff, people bring stuff to share, whatever. Just come and just get together and come up with whatever kind of subjects you want to talk about. Get your EC to report on what's going on. Keep people involved all year long instead of once every 2 years.
Yeah, and what Bob's talking about, he did it in his precinct. They had regular precinct meetings, and I think it was a great idea. They did have their house rep come and speak one time, probably some other people. The easy route, and what Brenda was talking about, the easy route is, to attract people to come to your meeting is, I got a famous person. Come talk to your house rep, and let's all be nice and kumbaya. I mean, you should be holding them responsible. The harder part is to get people together and actually educate them and have some open and honest debate about what's going on and hear the different, what do you think about, I mean, could you imagine us right now having a discussion about the pro-life bill and, whether exceptions or not? It's exactly what they do down at the State House. Now, maybe our group is more uniform, but I don't know. But we should have those discussions, debates, and come to the right conclusion, or to a conclusion that we as a group can all get behind and support, and actually educate people. I saw a post by Representative Neil Collins he's part of the Greenville delegation, but he's over in Pickens primarily. And Neil was like, "Hey, I've surveyed the people in my district, and the people in my district want XYZ exceptions." I'm like, guess what? You're not supposed to sit there and stick your finger in the air and just get a survey. You're supposed to be a leader and educate the people in your community. Guess what? As a kid, I thought it was not my responsibility to tell a woman what to do with her body. But at some point in my life, somebody convinced me that, hey, look at it from from the child's perspective. You know, I mean, I'm not telling a woman what to do with her body. I'm trying to protect the body that's inside that body. And I looked at it from a totally different perspective, and I have a totally different belief system about it. Guess what? Neil College should be out there educating people about that. You know, maybe they sit there and they know it, and then they, you know, but somebody had to tell me initially.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I saw it. And Neil should be out there educating people on that, as opposed to just putting his finger in the air and say, "Hey, what's going to keep getting me elected?" So, and that's just a lot of issues out there, and we really need to spend a lot more time educating and working on that. And if we had good values about, you know, I'm telling you, Robert's rules and what we're doing with our conflict resolutions committee and all that kind of stuff, it'll help you in your personal life with your family. It'll help you in your business life. You know, all of this stuff is good stuff, and they actually don't teach it in our schools anymore. Keith Jones right there, he was taught Robert's Rules of Order in school growing up. I'm telling you, I wasn't. I did never heard of Robert's Rules of Order till got involved in this stuff, and I went to law school, for God's sakes. So, you toward? Any final comments is just be flexible, go out and get more delegates, find people, pretend this is just, but you know, utilize what's going on as a way to recruit more people. There are more people that are aware of reorg today because they read a Greenville News article, a Greenville Post and Courier article. Utilize that as a benefit, boomerang it against them. They're trying to use it for bad reasons, use it for good. So I look at everything that occurs as an opportunity to sit there. I mean, I just, you know, I don't know. It just seems to always work out. Everything they do. Drew McKissick sending out a letter saying, you know, he's now nailed it down. It's not because, you know, allegedly we had endorsed somebody, you know, Joe Cunningham. It's because we violated some rules that they never. I mean, show me a letter where they said we didn't do something. We've literally sent them letters saying, what are we doing wrong? Please tell us. So they boxed themselves into a corner. And you know what? Having that whole discussion actually got Bill Bledsoe to do some research in Robert's Rules and figure out we can have a trial. So it just be flexible, realize, you know, that we're just going to try to keep you informed as much as we can about the dates, and we'll certainly let everybody know whatever information we have. But go out and find delegates. Next Saturday, we're going to have this training, you know, just general stuff, or as specific as we know. Next Saturday, I call Tabitha Bone and invite her. If anybody wants to come bring some information, bring it to us. And then afterwards in my precinct from 3 to 6, we're having a barbecue at one of our precinct members' house. And we're inviting the neighboring precincts over there. So schedule a barbecue at your house next Saturday, invite some people over, have a good time, and then talk about it. And if, you know, they schedule your precinct reorgs, you know, after the 14th, you know, if you already got your place scheduled, that's just another opportunity to meet and actually sit down and have your own little meeting and come up with your own caucus and your America First Freedom Caucus, and then, you know, come up with your slate. You know, we got that one-page slate. You ought to already be talking amongst yourselves in your precincts about who do you want to be EC. And I'm going to tell you, I mean, I do firmly believe that we ought to be, you know, our first job ought to be finding our replacement. And but don't feel like you just have to find a replacement. You know, if you got somebody new, stay there for another 2-year term, and then help the next person educate them. You may have already educated somebody, and you can, you know, move on and help support them in that role. But if not, if you don't have somebody that you've been mentoring for 2 years, do it again. And guess what? Find somebody to mentor. We don't need to be in these spots forever.
Amen.
So. Yeah.
There's going to be some people that show up and you don't want to lose them.
Yeah, even if you end up having your precinct reorg date is before March 14th, keep your place, and then have your folks that did just get elected or become delegates, have your meeting on the 14th. So I think that's a good strategy, to go ahead and keep those dates and just have a meeting and y'all discuss it. So. Yes, sir. Bob Finley, Botany Woods, DC.
These guys come down from SCGOP, sort of manipulate everything. You've been to some meetings, these guys, can we get some, if you got some pictures of them or something, so they're
Be happy to.
so we know who we're dealing with.
Yeah, be happy to put it out. We'll put out, it's Drew McKissick. We'll put out his contact information in the picture. We'll put up Hope Walker, Mark Benoit, and Tabitha Bowe. That's the 4 people. But you got to call them. They won't return our calls, or even our executive board and some of our other folks. That won't. Well, and that's true, but they may have extra people. So, I mean, there'll be other people. I think we'll have to see at the first meeting, you know, who is there and who they're bringing in. They're going to bring in more operatives. In theory, I mean, what they've done in other counties, they're scheduling multiple meetings. Like, so if where the problem is, they picked a really hard county to do this. We got 151 precincts. If you try to manage 151, I mean, even if you do 10 different meetings, it's 15 precincts a meeting. That's a big meeting.
Hopefully they don't try to scare people with COVID like the Democrats did.
Yeah.
This is my
All right.
Get these pre-printed forms that they're sending with all the same name on them, and walk up and just turn them in, throw them in the bucket and let them sort through.
Well, that's why they've got their own special forms, and they say their forms are watermarked, which, you know, there is the concept of watermark, you know, like a ballot and making sure it's an actual, you know, piece of paper but why do you need these special halogen watermark? You know, all it is, it's, you know, if I'm doing a ballot, it's a secret ballot, it doesn't have my name on there. That's one reason to make sure, you know, it's not just ballot stuffing and to have some special piece of paper. But this is nothing more than, you know, it has the names on there. You can validate whether the people are actually there and stuff. And guess what? The Form 1s, the new ones that they have out, don't have a date, still don't have a date on them. Because we got the ones, that was one of the issues that would come up from the last one is, you know, when did these people actually sign these Form 1s? Because, you know, they didn't date them, and now they still don't have a date on them, and it's like, it's incredible. So they literally made the system where they can cheat it 15 different ways to Sunday. And you know what, at least 2 years ago they found it hard to believe, oh, you're a little conspiratorial, Jeff, saying they're going to cheat. Now that nobody's debating that the cheating is going to go on, so at least everybody will be watching. And you know, I wish it was easier. I mean, but they don't want the party to grow, and we're going to have to do it. So be aware. No. Oh, let me clarify that, because a lot of people have been confused with this. This 2 for 3 rule, that is only for people that will be county officers or state delegates. So if you're going to be the county officers or one of the 90 state delegates, you have to have voted in 2 of the last 3 June primaries. Anybody can be a county delegate, anybody can be an EC, anybody can be a precinct EC or a precinct president, anybody. And apparently that was stated at the meeting down in Columbia, that even Democrats, if you have Democrats walk in there, if they live in your precinct, and I have seen them talk about that you don't even have to live in the precinct, that because Horry County put it out that you have to live in the precinct, and they put in parentheses preferred. I'm like, no, we actually in Olga found that it's actually in the state law, or maybe it's one of the state rule, but it says you have to live in the precinct. So
wait a minute. Democrats can only be delegates if the people who attend the meeting are foolish enough to vote for them.
yeah, that's
So
yes.
make sure you know who you're voting
yes.
for.
Make sure you know who you're voting for. Bob makes the right point that the only way you can become a delegate is if you're nominated and voted upon, which is actually not what they did last time. Those 423, none of them were nominated or voted on. But make sure you don't vote in a Democrat. So it's going to make it, but they were encouraging or saying Democrats to come, and you can't keep them out. So literally, if Ennis Fant walks into his precinct and said, hey, I want to be the precinct EC, and they vote for him, Ennis Fant, a Democrat on county council, could be an EC of a precinct in the Republican Party. I mean, they're obviously, as an elected official, it's still confusing. Just to be a delegate to the state convention, that's the 90 people. Well, that was the Greenville rule. We suspended that. That used to be a Greenville rule. It was to keep people out, the 2 of 3. And we suspended that here. in Greenville County, and it's going to be on our list of rule changes for the state, for the county convention. So at county convention, we will elect leadership, which will be the chair, first vice chair, and state EC, and we will elect the 90 delegates, number 2, and then number 3, we will vote as a convention to make rules changes to the Greenville County rules.
Right.
Ray Sheen is working on that. One of the rules changes is to make that permanent and take that 2 of 3 out. Because there are a lot of patriots that just, you know, they didn't participate in the primaries, you know, didn't know. All the rhinos know, because that's why they made the rule. So to keep them in.
One thing is the only way you're gonna know a Democrat or a Republican is, you know, what, and the closest we can get
Well,
is whether they pull a Democrat or a Republican ticket.
well, yes.
In the primary.
Right. And then let me just clarify one other thing. And this was part of the reason of we went through this stuff with fighting back on the state party telling us about Walt Horn's voting record, because he's qualified. There's all the documentation, all that kind of stuff. And we walked through a lot of people with this, but all the stuff that we got back from the state party was, you may lose your position if you have not voted in 2 out of 3. And guess what? And Miss Brenda's on the call here. Mike might be able to comment to it as well. But they talked about in the meeting that they're actually, one of the chairs got up and spoke about it. In this particular county, which is a small hinterland county, this person only had 1 person on their board, their county board, that qualified under the 2 for 3 rule. Now it's a Democratic oriented area. And so her people in the comments, apparently that I've been informed, they were actually voting, they're Republicans, they're officers in the Republican Party, they're voting in the Democratic primary. Because, and the excuse was, well, that's the only influence they have on picking which one of the Democrats is going to be up. That's exactly what the Democrats are doing to us here. But guess what? That is why the state party has been, all of their kind of machinations about the Walt Horn issue is, you may lose it. Because guess what? The whole thing with Walt was, if they had actually said, it has to be 2 out of 3 state June primaries, and if Walt had not voted in 2 out of those 3, you're out. I'd be out. Everybody'd be out. If it is a hard forced rule, they put all these, well, maybe not. Now I'll tell you, there's some other issues with the state election commission, and Walt believes that he voted in the June 2020 primary, because there's a lot of this stuff where you can see it. I can see it on my actual form I got from the state election committee. There's a button next to where I voted in June primaries. You just hit a button, it says delete. It literally says delete. You hit that button and it's gone. So, and there's a lot of people, and I've got some of the people we're working with out of Charleston that do a lot of election integrity. They've actually documented that 43%, and it sounds like crazy, 43% of the voting records from the state election commission are wrong. That doesn't mean everything is wrong, but you may have something, one thing missing or one thing added, whether you voted in a primary or not. 43% of them are wrong. Why are we relying upon something that's 43% of the time wrong? And because I had a person that leads a group in Spartanburg call me up and tell me that they went and pulled their voting record. She said hers was right, but her husband and her daughters were wrong. They did not show that they voted in the particular June primary.
Jeff, can you make the comment about what the consultant told us about data hygiene for South Carolina?
Yes, what we have talked to, I mean, South Carolina is looked at as a Republican red state, because we all have been foolishly voting for anybody with an R behind their name in that sense, and not understanding it. We will be more educated, but the state, the national party, the data in the state of South Carolina is horrible. And we all know that, for anybody that called off the list from 2 years ago. And the reasoning for that is because they do not put any resources in the state of South Carolina to clean up our voting, or not the voting piece record, but the data, who's Republican in that. I mean, it's just, they're not going to spend the money on it, because they're going to get who they want elected anyhow, and who they want are these liberal, left-wing Republicans. And so we want to build our own database, and we need the precincts out there. I mean, you can spend millions of dollars, and the RNC is not going to spend the money in our state, because they're getting the results that they want.
Right.
The results that they want are left-leaning Republicans. They're very happy for Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott, and Nikki Haley, and whomever else. So, but they're not happy with what we're doing here in Greenville. They're not happy with the Walt Horans of the world. They're not happy with the Freedom Caucus, even though I've got issues with the Freedom Caucus leadership. But the concept of the Freedom Caucus is really what we are. You know, where they started the Freedom Caucus, last April or March, I think in large part in response to what we were doing through here, the Greenville Republican Party, and through mySCGOP, and educating and teaching people, fighting back. I mean, that Freedom Caucus is down there fighting rhinos. What the heck are we doing? We're fighting rhinos. I mean, okay, why are we not working together? I mean, the one thing I've told everyone from the beginning, we will win this battle. But my one concern as a risk management person, we just become the next rhino establishment. It seems like some people in the Freedom Caucus are happy to be the next people in power. They're not passing the power down. If you look at the Freedom Caucus, ask them if they all have voting rights. The freshmen don't have voting rights. They have to have a year's worth of voting record before you can, in the state house, before they allow you to have a vote with the Freedom Caucus. Why would that be? It is a bunch of crap. And guess what? I mean, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I apologize about the language, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff, folks and friends, that there's behind the scenes. And I encourage you, come here, work with us. If you got 24/7 to do, please come down here and you'll be like, oh my God, you're right. How can we help? I mean, that's why our board is pretty unified, because, we spent the time and talked about it and everybody's figured this stuff out. But we got one question, Mary.
Yes, I've been listening all morning. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, awesome. So I live down in Berkeley County, and I'm just starting to delve into all of this. And we do have a group here, as you mentioned, last week we had an incredible meeting. But one of the things that are going on with our election integrity issues is absolutely unbelievable that they found, after canvassing 8 counties, Beaufort, Berkeley, Charleston, Horry, Lexington, Richland, Spartanburg, York, they found that there were 71% error rate when comparing it to the voter rolls. And I was shocked when I heard this. Phantom votes, they had over 2,500 phantom voters. They had over 6,000 ghost voters, ghost registrations, people that are dead. So, this problem is so deep. And like you say, the way that we can get involved and the way we can make a change is by becoming a delegate. And so I'm trying to get involved. I'm trying to learn the process. But when people realize the magnitude of the voter lack of integrity in this state, it'll tell you why we're in the position we're in right now. So
they're getting the results that they want. And the results that they want is number 33 out of 50. So yeah, lunch. If you're here at the office, we're having some burgers or something. I don't know, some sort of lunch. Wow, it's fantastic. I'll stick around if people have questions. I know people are tired that you've been here 2.5 hours, but we want to provide this. And Mary, just so you know, you've been outed because I'm sure your name's been written down, and they're going to come after you. But this is why Drew McKissick and those folks don't have open, transparent meetings. Because they don't want to know the opinions of some people. So I can go and call them and say, I did not sue 266 people. So, it's kind of a sad situation, but we're getting there and we're exposing it. And I think more people are waking up. So anything we can do, I'm more than happy to, if people, we'll have to do more Zoom calls or whatever we do, but certainly come join us next Saturday in the morning, 10 to noon at the Hughes Main Library. I would get there a little bit early because the parking is free, but I think about 10 o'clock is when people start using up the free parking for the children's library and stuff like that, or children's stuff next door. So come early, make sure you can get up, because I was dumbfounded how the library filled up, but it's free parking, and just come on in, turn to your right, back to those conference rooms. We've done some stuff back there before. And bring nothing but water. That's one of the big things with the library. So we, but it's a lot of fun. It's a great location and it's free. We love it. The easy parking. So it's actually worked out really well for some of the other things we're doing. And then schedule a barbecue later that afternoon. 3 to 6 is what we're doing in Timberlake, and get together with some neighbors and bring some people together and start talking about it. So Yes, well, definitely, yes, we'll get, yeah, I know. If you're really good at Excel, please call me, come down and help us. So, 'cause-
Heather's trying to raise her hand, she says, but I don't see it. Heather Hickman.
Heather,
Thanks, y'all. Can you hear me?
yes,
Hi. Yeah, so you mentioned runners a while ago, and I'm not sure how significant they are, but I've been trying to understand what role these so-called runners, voter runners play. Is it going to be more in the precinct reorg or later in the county?
the voter runners.
Election runner, I think she's talking about.
I'm sorry. Heather, I was talking about, there's a company called Election Runner.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and 2 years ago, that's when there's 46 counties here. 2 of the counties, Greenville and Spartanburg, did virtual conventions, and they used a company called out of Texas called Election Runner to actually count the ballots and all that type of stuff. So we just can't get the data to show how they cheated out. We got some data, and we'll do more. But if you're and folks, but it's separate for this stuff that we're dealing with. But you know what? If you get any information, please just email it to us at team@greenvillegop.com. Or if you talk to Tabitha, send us your notes and all that kind of stuff. And then that'll help us, get that information out to other people, at least to know what things are happening. And if you get invited to a secret meeting, go, I guess, but then get the information that you can. But you should ask them, anybody that's holding a secret meeting or getting a meeting with Tabitha Bone, and why is it not open and transparent? Why are they not doing Zoom calls every day? If she wants to run Greenville's reorg, happy for them to come in and watch and monitor, but they ought to be getting the information out to everybody, not just certain people in certain groups. So, and if you're part of the secret group, analyze, look at yourself in the mirror and say, why are you participating in some sort of secret group? Why would you do that? Our Zoom calls are wide open, and they're going to continue to be wide open, but I'm like, this is what destroyed America. If you think you're part of the solution by being part of a secret group and doing stuff secretly and nefariously and behind the scenes and calling the Greenville Convention Center and trying to do this and hijack stuff, you're part of the problem. So please just look in the mirror. Tony, and we'll close out.
Yeah, if we get a positive response from from call for special meeting, would that have a positive effect for us being able to direct our own?
Yes, the reason for the state call for special meeting would be to get them to reanalyze it and hopefully vote in favor of saying, you know what, they were, improperly convicted of something they actually didn't do. So
I'm not happy with the chafing that I feel by having to kiss somebody's put in the last word.
You've done good work trying to do the things you're supposed to do to grow your precinct, and they've subverted it. And that's what I'm saying. If you're in a secret group and you're helping these people, then you really need to look in the mirror and say, what are you doing? So
I haven't even begun, reaching out to the people in the rest of the zone that have no officers. Those are the ones I want to pull in.
Right. I know. But we're going to get there. We're going to win this. Be flexible. Utilize this, to move things forward. And we're here for you. We're, Olga and I are here most every day, at least in the afternoons, and whatever you need. But text me before you come. If I see Tim calling, I'm not answering. All right. Any last questions, or we'll go ahead and close out? All right, we got a motion to adjourn here. So second, we got 50s. All right, thank y'all for coming on.
Great, thanks. Great job, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Bye, Brenda.